the I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.
Kenny Lee.
What's up?
What's up, dude? Thanks so much.
Yeah,
you talked about coming over here from straight after work, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're going to keep it light and easy. It's going to be a nice little chat. I figured we go over Trump just won the election. We'll talk about abortion, immigration, all that stuff. We'll just keep it light and breezy.
That's what I was hoping for. I was like, it's either going to be Star Wars or all of the stuff he said. So, yeah.
But I don't know you at all, but I feel like you're pretty chill.
Yeah, this is basically me all the time.
Okay, good. I was hoping that's what it was. Because, I don't know, I've seen you a couple times, and I've heard other people describe you before I got to watch you. Mm-hmm. And I was hoping that the persona on stage was very similar to the persona in real life. So that's good to hear, man.
Yeah,
that's
man.
good.
It's good that they're getting an accurate description of me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good, yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, I hate asking this question, but I just don't know anything about you. How long have you been doing comedy right now?
So I'll be at 2 years at the end of November.
2 years,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
I was real scared to guess how, because you seem very natural.
Yeah.
You seem very relaxed. Mm-hmm. I feel like you have confidence of somebody who's been doing it longer than 2 years.
Yeah.
But I was worried. I was like, I hope I don't ask him that question, and he's been in the Dallas scene for like 10 years.
It'd be different that way. But
yeah.
I always tell people that it's like they're like, oh, you seem so confident on stage. I'm like, no, it's just that when I get nervous, I just for some reason give off this, I'm just gonna fake it till I make it thing, and then it works. Yeah,
it's working, man. So. Yeah, has it helped over the last 2 years, or do you feel like the nerves are going down at least?
The nerves have definitely gone down a lot. Like it's actually getting to the point now to where I used to like the day before a show, I would go over everything, and it would be for like a 5-minute spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's like 10 minutes before the show, I'm like, I gotta write down my stuff really quick.
I don't think I've seen your actual material, like your whatever you've rehearsed. I've only watched you at. I saw you at one of the That Just Happened shows.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then I saw you at I'm blanking on the name, Teddy C's show. Two Truths and a Lie.
Yeah,
I saw you on that show as well. And I was like, I have the only time I've seen you actually do material outside of something like that was just your clips, just your stuff that you've been posting. So it's kind of weird. You're the first person I haven't seen your actual like material that you've been working on, but I really loved what I did see.
Yeah, that's great. Hey, man, yeah. It's cool. Now I'm just going to sprinkle in jokes as we go.
For sure.
Like testing stuff.
While we're talking about clips, I saw that you were on that dating show at DCC with two of my favorites, Arun Rama and Ryan Perio.
Yeah.
What was that whole experience like?
Man, it was, honestly, that was so much fun, like being with both of them, because like Arun, don't let anybody fool you. Arun is a ladies' man. Okay?
I love Arun.
Arun is like, we're in the back, we're like, Arun's going to win this thing. Like,
really?
And the whole time. And then Ryan's like cunning. Like he's super smart and everything.
Yeah.
So like the whole time he's giving answer, like he's giving questions and everything, Ryan's giving like the smartest, like good answer. And I'm like, if this girl's looking for love, Ryan's the guy. You know what I mean?
Did she pick anybody?
She did. I ended up winning the whole thing.
You did?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it was cool.
So what, y'all go on a date then?
No,
that's not how it works?
No, it does sort of, but like I was just kind of like, hey, listen, we had a good time up there. You know?
So you weren't feeling it?
No, I think she was great. She thinks I was great, but like for me personally, I was just kind of like, I'm not really trying to date right now. It's kind of hard to date with comedy. It's so difficult. So,
what do you think's the most difficult thing about it?
It's the amount of time that you have to commit to everything. Because like when you're dating someone, it's like you do it. Dates are at night usually. Maybe you go for a coffee date in the morning on like a Saturday or something like that. That's cool. But you can only do that once a week, maybe twice a week.
Yeah.
You know. But most Saturdays are taken, Fridays are taken, Sundays, and during the week you work all day, and then it takes me 3 hours to get home, basically.
So that's how inevitably comics end up dating comics, right?
That's exactly right. And then comics will tell you, like the older ones, they'll tell you like, oh, don't date other comics, you know? So it's just kind of like, it's a weird...
The closest thing I have to that is when I was working in the service industry, when I was waiting tables.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like eventually servers all hook up with other servers, and it always ends poorly.
Every time.
I think I only know one couple where they actually like got married and have kids and it worked out, but... Yeah, but but on that particular show, she wasn't a comic, right? That was just a random audience member.
No, she's a random person. Like, so she's really cool, Katie. Yeah, she's really cool. But yeah, just a random.
You might have to rethink that, because if she was willing to be part of a comedy show, she might understand your other obligations.
Kind of gets it a little bit, right? That's what I was thinking, you know. But I don't know. You know, it's one of those things. In the moment, I was just kind of like, I'm too nervous. That's what it was. That's what it really was. I was like, I'm too nervous to be dealing this.
Yeah, dude. It's like when my dog's chasing squirrels and he actually corners one. He's like, I have no idea what to do now.
Now what happens? Like literally, like we were at the bar and like they buy us a drink and everything, and she was like, "You want to exchange Instagrams?" And I was like, "Absolutely, yeah." Like,
yeah.
And that was about as far as we. I mean, I got invited to a Halloween party, so that was cool. But yeah.
Yeah, you need to hit up for a date at some point. You got to do it, man.
Yeah, I got to put myself out.
That was nothing but green lights.
No, literally the whole time.
Yeah,
You know, like,
and she's got to be pretty cool if she was part of that show, because somebody being a part of that show, they could have just been like, oh, I'll just be nice and say blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, she was like, for real.
Had to be real about it. I mean, that's the thing. And I was just like, you know what was cool about it is like, I'm doing my jokes, I'm doing my material. And some of it's embarrassing, right? Because we're comics, you know? You know how it is. And she was like, yeah, that guy. And I was like, all right, well, hold on. Did you hear what I said earlier? Because like, this is crazy.
That's validating on multiple levels,
really
right?
is.
Multiple levels.
It was crazy.
Yeah, that's exciting, man. Well, that's what's funny about all the comics. I don't do any stand up. I just like being on an ancillary person here. But most of the comics I know, have this shy introvert persona that they think they believe that's really who they are.
Right.
But actually, it's like you guys are a lot smoother than you realize you are. The gift of being funny in a normal situation, not just on stage. It's like women love that.
Well, I mean,
they love that.
I like growing up, me and my friends, we came up with this theory, right? Like because we're all nerdy guys, we're all in band. We're like, how does this work? And we're like, there's 3 different things, right? 3 different things. 1, you could either be handsome. 2, you could be tall. 3, you can be funny. Like it's one of those 3 things. It's your angle. And I was like, I gotta start getting jokes done, like because I don't know where I stand with the other 2 things. But.
Yeah. What age did you say that was?
Oh, this was like high school. This was like maybe 16.
Is that when you started thinking about comedy?
No, I mean at that point in time, like I won like funniest kid in band 2 years in a row.
Seriously,
I'm not even messing with you. And I was just like, maybe this will be a career in like 10 years.
That's funny, man. Because it's always so interesting how people get into it, because some people don't even think about telling a joke till later on, and some people are just naturally funny.
Yeah.
And so funniest kid in band 2 years in a row. Huh?
2 years in a row. Yeah.
Do you put that in your credits when you go on shows?
Like when I first started, I would always be like, tell them I was the funniest kid in band 2 years in a row, and the crowd will laugh, and I'd be like, what was so funny, dude? Like,
oh man, that's so much cooler than trying to have like a. I mean, it's a real. I shouldn't say real credit. That's a real credit. It really happened. But people try to get up there with like their impressive resume and like there's something like that. Intro should always just be lighthearted and fun.
I think it's much better that way, because like sometimes you pull out your real credit. Like I won this thing called funniest person with a day job in 2023. And that's a legitimate credit. It was a big competition. It was actually statewide. It was huge.
Yeah.
And what I noticed was when I would tell people like, hey, tell them I won this, I would go up and it would be like the crowd's like, okay, impress me. And I'm like, oh no, like I'm still only like 2 years and I'm still learning a lot of stuff. Like I'm good, but yeah.
You know what's interesting is before he blew up, Ralph Barbosa, he was saying the same thing. He had won a funniest comic in Texas, I think, or was a runner-up or something. I can't remember which way it was. And I think they were announcing that. I don't know if he told him to do it just so he could play off of it, or if they were just doing it.
Yeah.
But he was the same thing. It was, he'd get up there and he was like, yeah, now I feel like you have expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't know if I really like this,
Exactly.
So that is an interesting point. What instrument did you play in band?
I played trumpet.
Trumpet.
Yeah, I played for 7 years. I quit after high school. Yeah.
What made you pick trumpet?
So I didn't pick it, actually. It was crazy. I went to a school in middle school. I went to Spence, and they had a pretty small budget for band, and everybody wanted to play the drums. I mean, like Drumline with Nick Cannon came out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, every kid in line wants to play the drums.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, cool, you're gonna get to play drums. And there's like 40 other people behind me in line. I show up to school the next day. They start giving us instruments. They give me a cornet. And I was like, okay, this is kind of like the drums. I guess you can hit it on the drum pad maybe. And they're like, no, there's only 5 drummers that we could have selected. And they already have drumming experience. And I'm like, okay, cool. So my music career has already started out pretty bad, and we're in 6th grade. And I worked up to trumpet, and then I was like, all right, we're done. But
yeah. Did you get pretty good at it? Did you like it?
It was cool. I met all my friends that way. I was decent. I wasn't like great by any means. Like, and I didn't have the passion behind it.
In 6th grade, it's not like marching band. What is it?
No, it was
just like concert.
Yeah,
or something?
just concert band.
Okay.
Then I did it in high school, so I was in marching band.
Yeah.
4 years high school. So then it's like it's a lot of fun, but it's like a lot of work too. So, but
Yeah. What was the hardest part, do you think, about playing trumpet while marching on a field?
Man, so the hardest part isn't the field half the time. It's the practice, because you practice in marching band in Texas in like 100-degree weather.
Oh, that's right. Y'all do the parking lot practices too.
Yeah, parking lot practice, where it's just kind of like kids are like passing
I forgot
out.
about that, how we paint the football field on the parking lots now. So you get the heat from above and below.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, why can't we practice on grass? Like, there's so much grass around here. And
they're like, well, the football team's using that right now.
The football team who is going 0-10 this year, they really need the grass. So I'm just like, all right,
Yeah, that's so that was the hardest part, was practice, huh?
That was probably the hardest, because like the actual like show is fine. Like I mean, it's fine because you do all the practice in the heat and everything. But I mean, there wasn't like night practice. It was like during the day, someone's gonna pass out.
Jeez.
So
you had to be probably pretty conditioned when that was going on.
Yeah, man, it was like you get a PE credit in Texas.
Oh, that's good.
Because of it. And people are like, oh, it's just marching band. I'm like, no, people die, like.
Well, and it's wild, as big as football is in Texas, I think until you know someone in band or you, like, people who have a kid in band, then all of a sudden you learn just how huge band is.
Right. It's gigantic.
I mean, there were people who go to the games just for the band.
My mom.
Yeah.
Literally the whole time. Like,
Did you see that clip of, there was some college where the band's outperforming, I think it was like Virginia Tech maybe. I'm not a big college football guy or anything. But while the band's doing their performance, he goes out there to start doing warm-up kicks, like in the middle of their formations.
And the guy in the middle.
Yeah. And people were like, oh, no one's there to see that band. And it's like, I think you'd be surprised how many people that pissed off. Yeah.
All the guys in the band are just kind of like, man, so disrespectful, because they still have to walk in the line of sight and just like maybe have to take one.
Well, football's crazy like that too, right? Because the football team might suck. The band might be incredible. The band might be like winning competitions and all stuff. And then both of y'all might suck. And then like the cheerleaders are winning competitions and incredible. And it's like all in one night, there's like 3 different sports really happening at the same time.
All types of things.
Yeah. And it's explaining football to someone who's not from here. Like have you ever had to explain to someone what a mum is when they're not from Texas?
Yeah, dude, that's a huge thing. Yeah.
And they're like, a mum, you're like, oh yeah,
yeah. We got a lot of Californians that live here now, and like a lot of my neighbors, I told them, I was like, yeah, man, like this is my cousin. She got she has a mum or whatever, and it's like this giant. She has one of the huge ones.
Yeah, I graduated in 2003. Mums were like reasonable sizes,
crazy, right?
Reasonable, like if you bought like kind of a one that covered up like just a little bit of this area. It was like, oh man, you sprung for the big. You put a couple bells on there too.
Oh my
god,
what
dude.
a luxury mom.
Yeah, and then when someone showed me what's going on now, where it's your whole fucking body is a mum, it's incredible.
People have back braces. Like they have back braces to like keep the balance and everything. And I'm like, oh my god, like this was.
Yeah, and you just wonder like, where's it going to go from here? How much wilder is the mum really going to get?
It's going to get crazy. I think.
Yeah. And when you've been here for the evolution, you're like, well, that makes sense. Everything's bigger in Texas. We always go. But can you imagine moving here and you see someone who's got a coffee table on the front of their chest trying to understand?
Lug it around like
or
that.
Worse, like you just moved here and your daughter's like, we're supposed to make one of these? Everybody's wearing one next week? I don't know.
You give her like the smallest one because you don't know any better, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, you have no idea.
Yeah, man. I remember that was just such a big deal. And now you look at it, and you're just like, that's insanity. Why do we do that?
I don't know where it came from. I don't know what the origin of a mum is. All I know is like if it's not gigantic, it doesn't. You're not Texan enough.
Yeah,
apparently. So,
what was some of your favorite memories about marching band?
See, like I said, I met my friends there. That was one of them. Marching band. So I was a football fan already, but like when you're in the band, like it feels like you have an effect on the game. I don't know if you actually do.
Yeah.
But you feel like you do.
Well, I assume you're in the stands playing, right?
You're in the stands playing, you know what I mean?
Dude, first of all, my first love is music, right? Originally I went to school for audio engineering. I played in band stuff. No, 100% music. Like a good rally, a good little anthem to get behind. Absolutely.
It was a big thing. Like, I think I just felt like when they won a game that was tight, I'm like, man, I think I kind of did that. You know what I mean? Like,
well, especially with a trumpet.
Yeah.
When that's done right, it's such a commanding instrument. I mean, it pierces through everything if you want it to.
If you do, right.
It can blend if you want it, but it can also just go, I'm going to step up here for just a moment.
Watch this.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to miss this field goal.
I mean, really though, a good band can distract the other team so much.
Absolutely.
It can throw everything off. I played basketball in high school, and it wasn't even a band in the background, but like when we were getting into, like when we were trying to win district, the team we were playing against for the district title, they had such a good fan section.
Right.
Where, they're just berating you the whole game. They're right behind your bench. They're from the floor all the way back up to the back. And,
Right.
I mean, and they just, all the insults you can imagine that are so clever. So half the time you're actually insulted. The other half the time you're laughing because you're like, that was really...
It's pretty good, yeah.
And then in the meantime, it's like you're just trying to go over a play in this huddle and you can't hear a thing. You're right here by all these people and they're screaming so loud.
That's crazy.
And so, yeah, definitely a football band has that same
That's what it
effect.
feels like. You know
Absolutely,
what I mean?
man.
Like, imagine like they're on the field. It's like 4th and goal. They need this field goal. You play a song and it's like, oh, I love this song, and it's like, well, okay, we'll stop it then.
Yeah.
But it works out.
Or more importantly, in that same vein, your ability to kind of liven up that dead crowd.
Yeah.
The crowd who's kind of given up on the game. It's like, they're down. I don't know. You guys can kind of
keep them going.
Keep them going, man.
My mom would literally have days where, like, she went to every game because, so like you said, there's 3 different groups to watch, right? My sister was on the drill team. I was in band, and my older sister was
drill team. So 4 sports now.
Drill team. So yeah, and
4.
Then in my high school we had a step team as well, and my other sister was on the step team. So she had 3 different things to watch. None of us were on the field, except for but like she had multiple things to watch. But she would come home after the game and she'd be like, "Man, the band, y'all did it today."
I'm telling you,
like,
dude, something about a good horn section too.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of music you like, but I love like punk rock and ska music.
Right.
And
Okay.
The ska bands there's ska bands that have like a couple horns and they're fine. Like you can tell these are dudes who learned how to play, they're having a good time. But then there's some bands where they have just a phenomenally tight horn section.
Yeah.
And you're just like, how the fuck are y'all that good?
What's going on?
And this is punk rock music, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so I'll have to send you something. You ever heard of a band called Streetlight Manifesto?
No, I don't know them.
Maybe one of the best horn sections I've ever heard of in a band. And it's totally in the punk rock ska vein. So you may not love the music, but you'll hear the horns and you go, okay, all right. And I got to see them live a few times. And it's like, it's so rare you go to a concert and see a horn section anymore, right? Bands are like guitar, bass, drums, keys, but a real solid, because I mean, it's hard to tour with,
no, it's a lot.
A 5-piece horn section or something.
It's like 5 dudes. It's like, well, I'm gonna go out there and do my best with like tuba on his back.
Yeah. I've always had a love for. I have a 4-year-old, and we're gonna make him learn an instrument.
Absolutely.
And I hope he picks something cool. And any of the kind of, what are they all? I guess those are all like brass instruments, right?
Yeah.
That I would like that if he got into that vein.
Man,
I think that'd be fun. Because I feel like too, learning an instrument like that, like a trumpet, I feel like you have to think about that a little more than a guitar.
I feel like you do
when you only have 3 buttons.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then there's the air control and everything like that. Like strumming, I feel like it's easier than the air control, everything like that.
Yeah,
because I mean, there's certain people who, I can't hit this note because you don't have the air, to do it and everything. Whereas like guitar, you just got to be able to reach.
Or you may literally not have the lungs to do that.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I loved playing brass. I wish, like I said, I wish I could have played drums. Now that I'm older, I wish I played bass. Like I really wish I played bass.
But don't you think now as a trumpet player, you'd pick up bass just fine if you want to do it?
I think that all the time.
I think you would. Not saying bass is easy. I'm just saying you have a strong foundation in playing.
Yeah.
And how often are you keeping rhythm in a horn section?
Exactly.
A lot,
all the time.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that would translate really well. What's keeping you from buying a bass, man?
Money, but
other
than really hoping this comedy.
Dude, I think the world needs more bass players.
Yeah.
That's an instrument like it gets overlooked, but when you hear a song that's got a great bass player, and it's one of those like you don't notice it when it's missing a lot of times, but when it's there, you're like, I could never listen to this song without this bass line.
Whenever people are like, "Oh, there's something to this song that's good," I'm like, "It's the bass. I promise you, it's the bass."
That's the part that's making you move. You just didn't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the time, I'm like, "Yeah, without this guy, this song is nothing." You know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's. I hope he picks something cool. It's that fine line. Like, I don't want to force anything on him.
Right.
I don't want him to hate an instrument.
Right.
But I'm just like, please, just pick something. I mean, I guess anything would be fine. But I'm trying to think of what instrument I would hate if he picked it up. But
piccolo. No, I don't know. That'd be cool.
I mean, I guess you could be cool with it. It just depends. I don't want it to be something that can't translate to, like a trumpet. You could perform all sorts of pieces, even if it didn't involve a trumpet.
Right.
You could write your own. You could do whatever you want with it, right? You can perform with it. It's not just a, it's like I don't want him to be like the triangle specialist.
Oh man,
You know what I'm saying?
That would be pretty. I mean, if he was like the specialist, you'd be like, all right, well, look at my boy. Like so. But
you know how it is. Those people who they work their whole life to get into like an orchestra or something,
right?
And then they just get that one part,
right?
Like,
Yeah.
You want something you can break out solo and play for a person,
right?
Whatever that instrument is.
Show out what you got a little bit. Like if someone's like, all right, do your thing with the triangle, it's just like, that's all you got.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah. So what? Then you just dropped it after high school?
Dropped it after high school. Because I went to Texas A&M Commerce, which is a different name now, East Texas State or East Texas A&M or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Which is actually a music school, but like I didn't go there for that. I went for like engineering and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, band was. I think the thing that was really keeping me in it was that my friends were in it too.
Yeah.
And so when we went to different colleges and stuff, I was kind of like, I'll pick up something else. I picked up ultimate frisbee. Great time. It's cool.
Yeah, I saw you play a little bit of ultimate frisbee.
Yeah.
Not frisbee golf.
Not frisbee golf. A lot of people say that. I do. I dabble, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, explain to me the difference between ultimate frisbee because I grew up. My grandma's house in Carrollton was next to a frisbee golf course, so they were just constantly coming over the fence.
Right.
But what's the difference between ultimate?
Ultimate, you run around. There's a lot of like running. Like it's kind of like there's an end zone. Like
so it's like football.
Similar, but like there's no hitting. No tackling, and you just can't run when you catch it.
So you catch, you stop.
You catch and you stop.
You got to make a pass from there.
Make a pass. It has to be thrown in for you to score. That's basically the main thing. But yeah, it's a lot of running.
Do you have flags or anything on you?
No flags or anything like that. Like the only way to stop someone from catching it is to knock it out of the air. Or something.
Okay.
But it's intense.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of cardio.
Oh, so much cardio.
When did you get into that?
So actually, senior year of high school,
Yeah.
me and my friends, we played. We just kind of like started up a little team at school, played for a year. And then when I went to college, I was like, like they do it here too. Like that's cool. And I think I was the only one that had like experience, and I had like a year of experience, so I kind of just murdered my freshman year. It was crazy. Like I was like, oh my god, you guys have no idea. Like but
how big's the field?
Like about the size of a soccer, not like a full like pro soccer field.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Like 80 yards, something like that.
Oh, that's a big field.
It's gigantic. It is.
Damn.
Yeah. Like
So when you play ultimate, do you try to? I grew up playing soccer and basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So do you specialize like in a position in ultimate?
Yeah. So like if you think about it, like in terms of football, there's like people who throw well, and then there's people who like receive well. You know what I mean?
Well, you have to catch it in the end zone. That's the whole thing.
You have
right?
to catch it in the end zone. So anytime you catch it, you have to throw.
So clearly you can't run it in. Obviously,
You cannot run it in.
All right. So what was your skill?
So it's called a cutter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and that was kind of my thing where I was one of the guys that would just run, zoom up and down. I still do it.
So you're trying to score.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
and then other guys are just really skilled at getting it to you.
Yeah, usually.
Oh, so you got some speed on you.
Oh, absolutely. I always claim, actually there's a video out there, I'd be like, I might not be the fastest man on the planet, but I am the fastest comedian in DFW.
I was going to say, it's starting to become, I'm starting to like you less because now I'm finding out that you're funny and athletic.
Yeah, a little athletic.
And a musician. You're way cooler than you're supposed to be.
No, it's all secretly cool. I keep them in my pocket,
That's pretty fun, man. Yeah. Do you use the same disc for the whole game?
Same disc the whole game, unless it like bends to an extent. But like,
but I mean, there's not like, oh, you reach this part, we swap out this disc or something. It's just the same one.
Same one the whole time.
How big's that community?
Let's see. DFW's community, I think, is about 800, and then like people drop in and drop out. But according to like Facebook, I think it's like 600, 800 people or something like that. But I mean, it's bigger than that because there's a lot of colleges and stuff that play.
Yeah.
But yeah, DFW probably like 600. 800.
Are you in like an official league?
Yeah. I mean, I played.
So how many teams are in that league?
I played club, so like that's like the national like club circuit. So I mean,
damn, you were really deep in this,
man.
That's so cool.
I really needed something to do.
Right when people bitch that these are like the worst of times, as a country or whatever.
Yeah.
I try to talk about that. It's like you're in the time where you can find a national ultimate frisbee league.
Like literally, there's so much to do.
It's like whatever your passion or hobby is. You're in a time in existence where there is a group of people somewhere, and guess what? You happen to also live when the internet exists, so you can actually find them.
You can find everything right now.
It's like no matter what your weird thing is, how strange. There's like if you were like, I am an avid vintage Fruit Loop cereal box collector.
Oh my god!
There's probably somebody doing that.
That's a big market right now,
right?
Actually, yeah.
But it's just, I mean, I love hearing that. It's like, oh no, I was doing club nationals. It's like, oh, okay, shit, I had no idea.
No, it's a big.
That's exciting. So how many games are y'all doing in a season?
So we do like 4 or 5. We do 6 tournaments in a season.
Okay.
Of that 6 tournaments, is like at least 6 games, so like 36.
So is that typically how it's done? You do a tournament?
Yeah, you usually do a tournament,
Oh.
meet somewhere. So we go to Austin every year. Usually we do one out of state. It's been Milwaukee the last few years, but last year we did North Carolina.
So is it just, you win, you advance, keep going?
Yeah, I mean, like first day is pool play, so you're going to play 4 games no matter what.
Okay.
And then the next day would be like, all right, you lose, you're done.
Okay, so you're not going all the way to Milwaukee and then you lose and you're like, well,
Oh, that would suck.
great trip.
No, it could happen. It literally could happen. Like, because you go off rain. Like, if it rains too hard.
Yeah, well, I just meant like if you show up and
Yeah.
the weather's good, you're at least going to get to play 4 games.
You get to play
Minimum.
at least 6. At
Oh,
least
6. Okay,
yeah,
great.
So,
yeah, so that's worth it then.
Yeah.
Dang, man. How long do you think until something like that is becoming like an official? Is that a college sport yet?
So it's it's biggest in college.
Okay,
Yeah, like,
okay.
College is usually where like people are like, all right, I'm going to do this, and then when they're done with college, they usually get out of it. But yeah, there's like
No high school teams yet?
there is high school as well.
I was going to say, can you you can grab a scholarship now probably, huh?
You can now with certain schools like
That's exciting.
yeah, certain schools. And I mean, at first I was like, oh, it's probably just like a little $1,000 scholarship. And then I heard from a couple of my friends went there and got the scholarship, and it was like it paid for half of their semester or half of their
Wow.
school.
That's incredible.
So I mean, but yeah, there's like a high school, college. There's even a pro circuit. I've tried out for the pro team.
How'd that go?
It was cool. But I mean, like it's a lot of taller guys. These are like real athletes. Like everybody's athlete.
So what's considered a tall ultimate player?
Tall, but probably like 6'3", 6'4".
Oh, okay, wow,
Yeah,
so these
so,
big guys.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of them are around that range. You know, so and they'll be just as fast. Sometimes they're not faster than me, but like they're pretty quick. You know, I mean.
Yeah, but don't you think, like going back to basketball, it's like I keep waiting for that era of the small, fast guy coming back into the NBA.
Oh God, I wish that.
When's the next Spud Webb coming?
You know what I mean? Like,
But I mean, for real, those players were so dominant.
it was a position where it was kind of like, how do you adjust this? You remember when like Isaiah Thomas was like running things for a year, and then like I think he got hurt, and then he came back, and they're like, oh well, Isaiah Thomas is nothing. I'm like, he was running everything.
And right now everybody's going for big.
Yeah.
And were you watching the Mavs when JJ Barea was there?
Yeah.
And he's a smaller guy, and it's like the ability of him to just open the floor, cut in, because it's almost like these big guys forgot how to guard a smaller guy.
They couldn't stop him.
And I love that variety in the sport. When I don't like it to be too homogenous and like, they're all 6'5" and they're just jacked, and it's like, but yeah. So I would hope that'd be the same way for Ultimate.
Yeah.
But How do they like? Are they picking up sponsorships like shoes and things like that yet?
It's weird because it's like a community that like almost supports itself. Like they get sponsors from like breweries a lot of the time, and then other than breweries, it'll be like whoever makes the Discraft.
Yeah,
that's usually a huge sponsor for a lot of them. But it's weird how much it's a community that certainly relies on itself.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I would think if you're that big of a sport already, there's no reason y'all can't be getting shoes, jerseys, all the sponsors like that.
They got a lot of stuff, especially like I said, there's a pro level.
Yeah.
They get on ESPN like once a year, and once on ESPN, everyone's like, "Oh, look, this is real.
Yeah.
This is real." But that's it.
That's going to be so crazy if I talk to you, and like I said, my son's 4, so if I talk to you in like 10 years, and he's like, "I'm trying out for the Ultimate team in high school, Dad," I'm like, "No way." First of all, I got the guy you need to talk to.
I know where you need to go.
It's just exciting when different things come up. It's like, especially like in a country that has an obesity issue.
Right.
Give me any sport where you're moving. I'm happy. I love it.
And it's like, it's one of those sports where I'm just kind of like, you are moving so much.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, this would solve everything.
Well, especially if you can't run with it, I would imagine the main strat, like for you, the main strategy is just how do I get this guy away from me enough to catch this, right?
That's all you need to do.
So it's just constant movement, right?
I think so. I did a tournament like 2 weeks ago, and it's just a little pickup hat tournament or whatever. And my friend, he had his watch on. We ran at least 10 miles.
Wow.
At least 10.
Yeah.
So,
and that's not 10 like I like to run, but I'm just going straight line.
Yeah. No jogging. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. This is 10 miles of sprinting, changing directions.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, that's pretty incredible.
It's insane. Yeah.
Yeah. So how much are you doing that right now?
So now it's off season. Like the season usually takes place during.
But you haven't dropped
summer.
that. This is like, we're still doing this. Right?
No, I'm still doing it. I think I'm going to do it for at least another year or so. But yeah.
What was the biggest shock when you went to try out on the pro level?
Man, so like the pro level, it's like it's weird. the difference. You played basketball.
I'll tell you my basketball experience.
Yeah.
So I grew up in a really small town. I don't know what they do with the schools now, but they used to be like 2A, 3A, 4A, right? So I was at a 2A high school that went up to 3A when I was a senior. But the shocks for me were we did these summer leagues where we would play against like the 5A schools, the huge schools. So we would go play against a summer league a summer league that was like we might be playing the best players out of Allen who formed a summer league, and they're all trying to get college scholarships. They're serious. We're just trying to win in our little district. And so the whole idea was we're going to go out there and just get our asses kicked all the time. And that's what, I mean, people were probably beating us. I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but I feel like we got beat a few times like 110-30.
Oh, God.
Like just massacres where you're earning every bucket because they're so much better than you. And so that was the first realization of like, oh, there's levels. These guys are like, I mean, there would be conversations before some of our games in that summer league where it was like, that guy has a scholarship. We will not be injuring him today. Do not do anything stupid.
Don't touch him.
Don't do it. Like, just, we're here to get better. We're not here to ruin someone else's career. That's how good some of them were. So, I mean, there was one game we were emphasizing like, these dudes are big. They're going to be driving the lane. If you can take charges from them, then when you go back out to your little small town, you can take a charge from them. And one of our players, he's one of the smaller guys, and this guy, I can't remember who it was. He went to play for UT later on, but he's just driving the lane, and he just comes up for this massive dunk. And our summer league coach is just like, take the charge. And you just audibly heard the guy on our team just go, fuck that. It just like stepped out of the way.
I want to live.
It's like even the refs were just laughing. They're like, "Yeah, don't take that.
No, don't take that.
It's 2 points, man. You're 40 points behind."
I was gonna say you're down 50 right now. It's not worth it. What are you doing?
And then the next tier was we actually did win our district. We were district champs our senior year, and then we were one and done in the playoffs. That was the next realization. We went in there and we played against a team who it wasn't their first time to the playoffs, and they were just focused. They weren't nervous. They'd been there, and it wasn't a blowout or anything, but they just controlled the game. They had it all, and I was like, okay, all right, that was another level of, even in what I thought was just our small town schools. These guys were just better. Another notch up. So, like, to answer your question, that was my experience. That's kind of what I was curious. How did you feel about the levels from where you were to what you were seeing when you went to that pro thing?
So, like, club is one, like, that's high. That's a pretty good level. You have to try to be on a club team. Pros, you obviously try out for, but it's like when you go to try out for pros, it's like these are the best players from all the other clubs in the area. So it's kind of like, at the time, I think the first couple times I tried out pro, I was like 21, 22. I was pretty young, but I mean, like, I get there and I'm just kind of like, oh, like, you need to be able to be good at like everything and like understand. And I think that was like, let me get a memory. Like, I was a pretty fast guy. Like I said, I'm still pretty decently fast. There was another dude who was considered like one of the best players in the U.S. that was at the pro tryout that I was at. And I remember one disc being thrown, and I'm like, oh, I'm so much faster than this 32-year-old man. And I just remember like taking off and just seeing him pass me. And I was just kind of like, oh, I shouldn't be here right now. This is crazy. I didn't know that you could do. I mean, he passed me so quickly.
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like there were probably few times before that you had been passed like that.
Yeah.
This is like reshaping your world because you're like, I usually pass people.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm just kind of like, oh, I know what that feels like, and I have not on this end too often.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's like freaking 4 or 5 inches taller than me, so I'm just kind of like, it's crazy.
It's wild how deceivingly athletic. I don't even know how to say it. You think you know how athletic a professional player is in any sport, right? Until you're actually next to one of them, seeing them move, and you're just like, oh God,
no,
you're a different human being.
This is a fun one. I was playing pickup in Garland one time. Mm-hmm. There's this guy, I can't remember his name for the life of me, but he was a real life NFL player for the Tennessee Titans. Mm-hmm. His family lives here in Dallas or whatever. He's from here. But he was just in the off season. He was just like probably second or third string. I don't know. He wasn't like on the field all the time, but he was stocky, like 5'6" maybe. But the dude weighed like 180, 190 pounds at like 5'5", 5'4".
Just ripped up.
Just, I mean, insane. And I'm just kind of like, oh wow. And he could run like a cannonball, like
Yeah.
like a cannonball. And the thing that was really scary is like he was definitely faster than me, easily faster than me. But on top of that, he could stop on like a dime.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Yeah. And this was him in the off season.
In the off season, that's why I'm like, this is crazy.
This was
like,
him relaxing.
Yeah, he was
you
like,
know,
oh.
he probably had like a piece of cake or something. You know,
He's like, oh, I'm just here having fun. I'm
yeah.
like, dude, what? Like,
He's like, I'll turn it back up in a few weeks. Don't
Like-
worry. I mean, it is wild to think that we're all the same humans,
right.
isn't it?
That is crazy.
It's
yeah.
wild, man. Like I said, I like to run.
Yeah.
And so I was watching. I was looking up the times
Right.
of like elite runners,
Right.
Just you know, because naturally, like you said, you're especially as a guy. I think anytime you do a sport, you're like, I mean, if I put in this much effort, I could probably be pro,
Easy.
no matter what it is. You're
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
I mean, I spent like 2 years, you know, diet, right?
Like literally, that's
like that's all it is. It's because I'm eating Chipotle that I'm not pro.
just
Right?
one meal will stop it. You know, like
Yeah, and then you start looking up and you start doing the math. So like this one guy, Eliud Kipchoge, is the best marathoner. Are you familiar? You heard of him? Okay. Anyway,
No.
I don't know how much people know about running, but he's the fastest guy. He ran a marathon. It wasn't in a competition. He had pacers running with him to help him keep pace, and it was on like a closed course, and it was just him. So he didn't run like an official marathon, but he ran that distance
right.
in just under 2 hours. I think it was like 1:59:30 seconds or
Oh my
something.
god.
Yeah. So he's running, 13.1 miles an hour for 2 hours. You know,
Wait, is this the English guy?
no, he's I can't remember where he's from. I'll have to look it up. But what's crazy too is I thought like, oh, for sure he's going to be a tall guy.
Right,
Of
right.
course he's Kenyan.
Yeah. Oh
He's
no,
Kenyan.
I know who you're talking about then.
This guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and he's 40 years old.
Yeah.
40-year-old people shouldn't be the athletic leaders, right?
13.1 miles an hour. It's
That's what I'm
crazy.
saying, man.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And he's still going. It's like he's still in his prime. I was trying to see his height because I used to think like, oh, he's probably 6'1". He's got this long stride. He's 5'7".
Yeah. No.
So just thinking like how much faster his legs have to move to get to that. It's incredible when you think he's fucking capable of that.
Yeah.
And then when he's done, it's not the dramatic like lay on your
No,
back.
I've seen
Thank
it,
God. He's just like, this was a wonderful event. Thank you all for coming out.
I'll do it again tomorrow. You guys, see you out there.
Yeah.
You know.
And to think, he's just one of those elite people that he's running with all the time. And those are just the elite professionals, right? So when I show up to like the Dallas Marathon and there's a couple tiers down
Right.
of elite people who are still just dominant.
Right.
Dominant, dude. Every time I go run an event, there's someone wearing like a silly costume that's faster than me.
Yeah. Oh, that's gotta suck to be like, I'm getting passed by a hot dog guy right now. This is crazy.
Dude, someone when the Dallas Marathon, there's like a double back, like you go around the lake. So on
Right.
your way out to the lake, you're going out there, but then after the lake, you come back on the same path. So by the time I'm getting to that section, the really fast people are already almost done.
Yeah.
Right? And I look up and one of them's in a full fucking football uniform, wearing a helmet. And I think he finished in like 3.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
God.
He's
It's
just
like
insane.
Yeah, I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, man, we're making a good time. Things are going right. And then you see this guy and you're like, I'm so fat. I'm so fat and slow.
When I see guys like that, and like especially for running, I'm like, who is that for? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is this
Yeah.
how you get your kick? You know what I mean?
Some of them, his was actually clever. He was being sponsored by some. Oh my gosh, it's not semi-pro. The league under professional football? I'm blanking right now.
UFL?
Yeah, some whatever they call minor league football. There's like a minor league team around here, and he was wearing their uniform to promote the team.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so, but no, then there's one like there's a famous guy. He runs marathons. He carries a pineapple on top of his head. That's just his thing.
Just cause.
And he's in the running world. He's relatively known. He'll go to different marathons and he'll just jog the whole thing at a pretty reasonable pace. Nothing too crazy.
Like with it balanced?
With a pineapple on top of his head.
See, like if I get passed by that guy, I don't know, man. Like
He passes people. I mean, I think I looked up his times and he's faster than me.
oh man.
Yeah, I mean, let me see. Yeah, here he is right here. And I felt like there was some controversy that he might be like cutting courses or something. But
Nah, I believe in him.
here he goes. Straight up pineapple
Oh my god,
on top
he's
of the
like
head.
He's like 90. What are we talking about?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
It's crazy.
Oh, man.
It's crazy.
See, that's what I mean. The people are just so elite out there.
Yeah.
Where I'm just kind of like, all right. Yeah. Like, you want to be like the confident guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Until you get passed by a dude with a pineapple on his head. And then you're like, all right, man.
It's like, dude, my wife and my son saw that.
People are here. Like, my whole work is sponsoring me for this event. They're giving me money
Yeah.
per mile or whatever. No, like, no. So.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. But it's also wild to think of just physical achievement. Like you said, when you know you're fast,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We can say objectively, you know you're fast.
Right.
And then that guy just leaves you. And you're thinking, he's not even the fastest guy either.
Yeah, no, I literally immediately I think, oh, this guy must be of some other species. You know, like he's not human. I don't know how.
It makes me happy we don't have to like protect villages anymore.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, oh my god.
Because like the NFL guy you saw from what do you say, the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah.
You know, imagine him storming over the hill.
It's over.
You're farming. You're like, what a lovely day, and you just see him and like 40 other people like him.
Army of them.
What the fuck do you?
It would take 1,000 of me to take down 40 of them. Like,
I don't know that I'll ever do it, but I don't know if my ego can handle it either.
Right.
But I'm very interested in finding the correct like MMA person who is not a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Who won't hurt me.
yeah.
But to just I want to know just how little can I do to you,
Right.
right? Because I feel like that's important to know your limits of like, okay, it's only going to be a few seconds and you're going to have complete control over me.
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it.
Right. I'll be it'll be
Nothing I
over
can do
quick.
about it.
Exactly.
And I have no desire to do MMA, but at the same time, you know, it's like, I think that's part of being a guy too. You know, it's like you see somebody like Mike Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't want to get hit by Mike Tyson, but I do want to see what it's like to be in the ring with Mike Tyson.
You know what I mean?
That's got to be an incredible experience.
On my way here, there's like just on the drive here, there's like a judo like lounge up top or something like that.
Okay.
And I just see all these people sparring, and I'm just kind of like, I wonder, you
Right?
know, like, you know what I mean? Immediately,
Yeah.
like I'm like, I wonder if I could just throw like a couple, you know, kicks or punches in
Yeah.
there. And then like I see one guy just like take a like small kick to the leg and go down. I was like, oh, you know what? That's why I do comedy, you know, like.
I mean, yeah, but that's exactly what I do with every sport, right? Well, so like you just said, for a few seconds, right?
Yeah.
You're driving by, you're drinking a Dr. Pepper, you're like, what if that's the thing I'm naturally gifted at? What if that was the thing I didn't know I'm a natural at? And I get in there and they're just like, wow, that was the best flim flam. I don't even know the movie.
Oh,
That's the
yeah.
best one we've ever seen.
You're great at this.
Yeah. You should probably not only sign up here, but you should join the team.
You should lead. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it's wild. I think about that. It's the same way with comedy too, though. So some of the ways people's minds think to get to that joke is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so interesting. Like, you watch comedy, it's great. Like, watching a whole hour special is awesome. But then you talk to them about like, hey, like, how did he think of this? Like, that's such a crazy angle. And it's either this really happened to him or he's crazy. Like, you know, they're crazy, whatever it may be, you know? So
Yeah.
a lot of the time, like, there's a lot of comics around, even just Dallas, so I'm just like, how did you think of that angle? That's crazy.
It is weird. It's weird. The you know, you'd like to think like, oh, you just worked hard at it. But you see people who work hard at it for a decade and they're just not, sometimes they're just not that funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they're doing everything they're supposed to do and they just can't find that funny material.
Right.
You know, it's not for lack of effort. You'll hear all this stuff. You'll be like, oh, they're super nice. They're super supportive. They do these shows, you know, and they might do good enough to kind of host and feature, but they never hit that level.
peak.
And it's like, what is that missing thing? You know?
It's crazy because like I've talked about it a lot with friends, but like you could see someone do like a joke, and let's say you just hear the best joke of your life, whatever it may be. One guy, you just see him just do the best joke of his life, and then I'm like, if you took that same joke and you gave it to someone who was never even been on stage before, and they did that exact same joke the exact same way, it would have two completely different effects. Like,
Yeah.
And I just think that's so crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how many times, I don't know how much you do it, but it's like, you know, you try to tell a coworker about a joke you heard or a special you saw.
Yeah.
It just doesn't hit.
Nah.
It just doesn't hit, and you're like, just go watch it. Go
Yeah,
watch it. It'll
exactly.
be better. I promise it's funny.
It's the funniest joke. I promise you. I'm not giving it justice right now, you know, like, but it's...
Yeah. I mean, maybe one of the more recent people like that is Nate Bargatze.
Yeah.
You write his stuff out, not that funny.
No, it's crazy.
It's delivery. The guy's so skillful, and it's so believable that this is his outlook.
One of my favorite guys.
Ah.
It's literally...
I think I've realized it over the last couple of years. My absolute favorite for me is Bill Burr, but that most recent Nate Bargatze special he did where he's in the round, that might have been the hardest I've laughed in maybe like 3 or 4 years. And saying that from watching a comedy special and not being actually in a show, knowing that because I'm watching it on a screen, I'm only getting it like 90%. I don't know, man. Just the way he knows himself so well to know how it's going to come across. I guess maybe
it's great. Like the thing about like him specifically, and that's it can apply to any comic, is like he even says himself, he's like, oh, I'm a dumb guy, like it's a lot of, and I'm like, it takes such a smart person to pretend to be dumb and like make you believe it every single time. And like, for him to be able to write and deliver that way all the time, Nate is one of the best, man. Yeah,
you don't sell out venues that large if you're dumb.
You know what I mean? Like exactly. He's kind of like, oh, I can't open the screen door. And
you can luck into the weekend club headliner spot and do well there, but to get on another tier like that, it just makes me happy to see. Because for a while, I feel like it feels like it goes in waves where people, you have to be so serious and edgy, and we got to have stances and all that. And it's like, or you could just get up there and make people laugh about silly shit. He's talking about his sister buying a jet ski. Like that's funny shit. Yeah, I love it, man. It's good to have that mix of guys like him in there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was one of your favorites though.
Yeah, so I only do clean.
I didn't know that.
Not even like on purpose. It's just like the way I talk.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I didn't look at you as a clean comic.
Yeah, that helps.
You know what I'm saying? It's not affecting anything, which is great.
A lot of the time I'll get like that's one of the best things is kind of like people are like, oh, you do clean, right? And I'll be like, yeah, I can do clean. And they're like, oh, do you do anything else? I'm like, no, I really only do clean. It's really like, but I mean, it's good to not like feel like you're in just like one margin, you know what I mean? While at the same time, it's kind of like it's still natural. Like I'm not clean because I write clean or anything. It's just like that's how I talk.
Well, and that's the key, right? Is what's natural is what you should be doing.
Exactly.
You know, and I like both styles, but I definitely have been to so many. It's worse. At an open mic, obviously, right?
It gets crazy.
It's where you lean on the F-bombs, you lean on the swearing whenever, it's you get uncomfortable.
Right,
Drop that'll get them. And that it is funny, but it's weird. You talk about clean comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I still remember the first time I heard like Jim Gaffigan say a swear word.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's a human being. Of course he's said a few, but you're just like, I just didn't think he would ever do that.
Yeah. It's crazy because it's just like, it's so weird when you see it like that because you're like, oh, I didn't know you do that. And I'm like, he swears all the time outside of it.
That's what I was going to say. You're like, he's a New Yorker.
Yeah, like this is normal day for him, It's
but still, he crafted that act so well to where I almost felt like, he would never.
Right.
He would never.
Right. He knew what he was doing.
And I don't even care. I'm not even a person who's like, I need clean comedy.
This is when you get up and you walk out,
Yeah. Well, who do you think are your favorites that have done clean comedy the best? We already said Nate Bargatze.
Nate.
Knowing you're going that route, you have to think about some of the people before you who have done it.
Oh, that's the thing. Is like usually I feel like there's one clean comedian that's like top 5 in every generation, right? But Nate was always one of my favorites. Oh my God, I've been watching this dude for the last week. I'm only blanking because I'm on a podcast, so this is very embarrassing. But he was in like everything in the 90s. He was in Good Burger for just a small part as the teacher. Oh my God. Oh, cool. I can use my phone?
Yeah, well, do whatever you want, man. I don't care. Good Burger, and he was the teacher.
Oh, like I've been watching his stuff for the past like month, and he's freaking hilarious, but I can't. Oh my God, Good Burger teacher. I didn't know that we could use phones.
Oh yeah, do whatever you want, man. We don't have any real rules here.
There he is. Oh my God, that's the actual character's name. Sinbad.
Oh yeah,
I'm only blanking because there's a camera right there.
I forgot he was there. I mean, dude, you talk about. First of all, like I feel like an old man.
Yeah.
Whenever like with what I'm about to say about like they don't make them like they used to.
Right.
But there really is. I'm not saying it's better or worse, but pre-social media comics that got on the level of Sinbad anyway.
Yeah.
That's just another beast. That guy could just turn it on at any event. He didn't need to. I don't need to. He wasn't worried about making a clip or anything. Somebody like that. You feel like you were just destined to be a stand-up comic.
You knew.
Yeah.
He's an entertainer. Sinbad had one special. I think it may have been like his second or third special. And it opens with like an R&B group and him doing a dance number for like 15 minutes live on stage. And I'm like, this isn't like, he has not told a joke yet. And he does this whole like 15 minutes dance number just to get the whole crowd hype. And it's like you see people on their feet at a comedy show.
Yeah.
At a comedy show, like they're getting up, throwing their fists.
The word you use is probably the better word, right? Like he happens to do comedy, but he's an entertainer.
He's an entertainer, yeah.
Because you're right. For somebody to come out on a cold stage, and go, we're getting up to 100 real quick,
crazy,
before I make you sit down and I talk.
Exactly. He literally was like, "Sit down, come on, guys." You know, like,
it is wild how that's what I mean. Some of those old school guys. I mean, obviously, we're talking about like these top tier people, but. There was a clip making the rounds of Eddie Murphy impersonating James Brown in front of James Brown. Did you ever see that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
And it's like, if he wanted to be, he's James Brown now.
Exactly.
And he's one of the ones I wish would stop teasing us and
just do it.
Do some comedy.
Oh my God. Like
him. I would be worried about so many people like, don't, you're the best, don't ruin it. But there's no way he wouldn't be incredible
He's
at it.
Still got it.
Even with my expectations high, I feel like his expectations would be higher.
Yeah, and the thing is, I feel like, and I'm only 2 years in, so maybe I'm talking a little early, but like I feel like you don't ever stop writing. Like if you see something funny, you think about it. Yeah. And as a comedian, when you're thinking about it, you're like, I think I got a joke out of this or something like that. And that never stops. He hasn't done comedy in forever now.
Yeah, but you just know a guy like that.
Yeah.
Like you said, your normal daily interaction, he sees something weird and he's just thinking about it.
Yeah, 8 different angles.
Yeah.
So
no, I think those generation of comics, man, I would love to see what their journey was going through those clubs. It sounds crazy to say, but I think, and I didn't experience whatever they went through.
Right.
But on the outside, it feels like they were just in a rougher environment in terms of the crowds were probably not friendly.
Yeah.
The clubs were probably not friendly. You had to be good.
You had to be good.
And for better, we're in this time where, for the most part, crowds are pretty friendly. But it's like, is that like a cast? Is that weakening you just a little bit?
What I mean? Like, would I be better if I like bombed for the first like 6 months? Because not even bomb, but just like the crowd was like, hey, we're not giving you anything easy.
Yeah. I don't know. Or would that deter a really good comic from finding themselves?
Right.
Like, I'm not dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
They keep yelling at me every day.
I don't want to be here.
I don't know which way is right. I would love to talk to some of those older veteran guys who dealt with that to say, like, what is that part of it? Or are you glad it switched?
Right, right. Because this is a weird age, right? Like, you could, in this age, you can get famous off of just like a little 20-second clip of you
joke.
At like an open mic, one joke, and you can get 10,000 followers. All of a sudden, the clubs are like, "Hey, we got to book this guy. He's going to sell seats." All because people heard one joke from you.
I have watched a couple people myself who have had a couple things online. I'm like, "Oh, that's funny," and then you see they come to town. You're like, "Oh, I got to watch that," and you're like, "Well, it was okay."
Yeah, no,
it was fine.
Absolutely.
It's just I need to temper my expectations if I found you solely on social media.
Right, exactly. It's a different thing. Whereas like back then, it was kind of like if someone knew you, it's because they heard of you.
There are 2 comics of this generation, not from here, that I feel like fall into that category that we were just talking about. Because I remember going to watch them in Richardson at I always blank on the name of this bar, but it's like a bar that does music, and they booked their own. They couldn't get booked at clubs. It was during the pandemic, and they were doing their own little DIY tour. But it was Dustin Nickerson and Zoltan Kazas.
Okay,
and they're still like working their way up, but they're building. They've done specials. They're doing cool stuff now. But I got to talk to Zoltan a little bit, and they were just talking about how they just booked this DIY tour in these horrible spots, and they're just like, anything to just get out there. And they were selling their own tickets. They were setting everything up, and they're just traveling the country in like a Chevy Spark or something,
Nice.
And, now when I see them, put out a special or something, you see that they're growing more.
Yeah.
You're like, how much of that just experience of doing that really smoothed out those rough edges?
Right.
Or were you just going to be this good at it, and that just happened to be the path you took?
Yeah. I feel
it's hard to tell.
It does feel like one of those things where it's just kind of like, the more you commit to it, the more you get out of it. That's kind of what you want to think, right?
Yeah.
But then you get some people who can just get that, get that lucky shot. And sometimes that's what you're really looking for with some people. They're just kind of like, oh, what's that lottery pick? Maybe this is the one time where like the right person sees you, you get to make some motion out of it. I like to hope it's just kind of like hard work pays off.
Yeah.
I like to hope it's that.
Yeah, it should, right?
Yeah.
That would be fair.
Yeah, that would be fair. But I mean, you've heard about some comics like who oh yeah, he was performing open mic, and then some guy was like, hey, you want to open for me? And then that just changed his whole life, you know. So
yeah, and it's weird. Everybody's got a real different path for it.
Yeah.
You can't say, you know, what worked. You know, for locally, it's like what worked for Ralph Barbosa is never going to work for any of y'all.
Right.
It's not going to happen that way.
Yeah.
That was the way it happened for him, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, but you'd like to think that there's more of that going around. I don't know. I just had Peyton Payne on here.
Yeah.
And she disagreed with me, but I still think you're wrong, Peyton. But,
Yeah.
but no, I think we're primed for more of that here locally. I think we're still on the rise of this scene.
Yeah.
And just the fact that we have this volume of clubs, the volume of people constantly getting into it, you know.
Yeah.
It seems like, you know, like we talk about like guys like Bill Burr, Jim Gaffigan, those. I think they were all part of kind of like the same class in that Northeast area.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And they were just these killers. And it's like, I feel like we've got this group of people developing here, and we're just waiting to see which class of people here is just going to break out.
Exactly.
You know, kind of collectively. But about 2 years in, did you just start at an open mic, or did you go to a class?
So actually, crazy start to the whole thing. I did open mic like a couple times, like 6 years before I really like gave it a shot. I did it like 1 or 2 times, just like on college break or whatever. And that was cool, but I never considered that my start because I was just like, just let me try it out. The day I really started comedy was for the competition in Dallas for funniest stand up in Dallas.
What do you mean the day? That was the first time you ever got on stage?
That was it wasn't like the first time ever, but that was the first day where I was like, I'm gonna give this like a real try. I had not done.
So you just signed up for a competition?
So I signed up really because like I signed up for the open mic several times and I couldn't get on the list.
Okay.
And then one day like I checked my spam email just randomly. I have no reason for checking the spam email. Jump in there and it says, hey, last day to sign up for this competition. And I signed up just for the guaranteed 5 minutes and in front of actual people. Signed up. I think the first show I did, like I had like 20 people there because they were like, oh, we want to see you do it. And I was like, cool. I made it all the way to the finals. I took second place in the whole thing.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Which competition was this again?
This was funniest stand-up in Dallas.
So is that the one that's done at, is that done at Improv? Where was that done?
Dallas Comedy Club.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting, man. What a unique entrance.
Exactly. That's why I tell people. I'm like, mine was a little different, but yeah. So.
So when you go through that, I mean, what's going through your mind? Like, oh, I'm the man. I'm going to do this. I'm meant to be for this, or what? Like, what?
It was like weird because, like most people enter the competition, they're like, oh, we want to win. I was only there like just trying to get on stage and be like, do I like this? And I was like, do I like what's going on here? And I did, but made it to the end. I don't think at any point of the thing I was like, oh, I'm going to win this thing. At no point. But like, I had a lot of support from like friends and a lot of support from like the Ultimate Frisbee community and band. So those came back, But, a lot of support from them. Made it to the finals and then ended up taking second. And I was like, oh man, I'm feeling pretty. Like I guess this is a thing that I'm doing now. Like it feels pretty good to be doing it. And I don't know. It's like hard to explain. Like I remember that night I get the check and everything, and I'm just kind of like, "Oh, this is crazy."
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, there's a prize.
Yeah, there's a huge. They're actually very silly. They're super silly about that because it was like a giant check.
Sure.
For $69.
Yeah, but it's just hilarious that you're like, I just want to see if this is right for me, and you get a prize.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, like.
Do you think because you were, you said you were nervous a lot, right?
Yeah.
But do you think because you were saying like, I just want to try this out?
Yeah.
That you were just thinking no pressure?
Yep, exactly.
Do you think maybe that's what kind of gave you an edge?
No, I mean, I was super nervous. I remember I was so nervous because I saw the video. I was like shaking on stage. Like,
so you were actually nervous?
Extremely nervous. Like the first night, all of the nights. But I think by the time I made it to finals, I was just kind of like, I was there with 7 other comics who were like really, really good. Paolo's, Jordan J.
And were they just looking at you like, and who are you?
Yeah, like literally. And I remember one of Paolo's Firo came up to me. He goes, how long have you been doing comedy, man? Couple months or whatever. I go, this is my 4th week. And he goes, what? And I go, this is my 4th week doing comedy. He goes, no, but like open mic and everything. I go, no, this is, you heard me. Yeah. So, it was crazy.
Well, what was your approach? Did you think, okay, I have these premises, I'm just going to write things out and rehearse in my living room or something? Is that how you came at it?
Yeah, I would write in my bedroom. Like so I said I tried a couple open mics 6 years prior, just like 1 or 2. I never stopped writing. Like I was like figuring, I always liked writing and stuff like that. But like I just had all this stuff saved up. I didn't end up doing any. I think I did one joke out of that like 5 years of writing, 6 years of writing, whatever. But I would write for weeks, like in preparation for it or whatever. I didn't know until like a week before, but and I would just rehearse in my restroom, like looking in the mirror, like timing and everything. There was no crowd. I'm just like, I hope this is funny. I would literally write in pauses to be like, okay, yeah, this is where they should laugh.
This is where it's going to happen.
This is where, and then at this point, they're going to be like, this guy's got to be on Netflix or something, you know, like, but no, and it just worked out. Like, it really did. So
it's so rare that things work out, though.
yeah, exactly.
That's got to be,
it was insane.
It's got to be incredible.
Yeah.
What a great memory.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, this is how and people will ask me, they'll be like, so where did you start? And I was like, yeah, I was on stage with like guys who are really good, you know, like people who are really good at this. So,
well, did it ever get to, how long from that experience until you had your first bad experience?
Shoot. Maybe a couple months. I mean, like, so I took second. And I mean, maybe a month or two later, I think I had like my first, like, real, like, okay, I bombed, you know, like, and it still would have been like at an open mic or something like that, which now I'm like, okay, bombing at an open mic, hey, we're trying out new stuff. It's fine. But I mean, like that first time you bomb, and you really just like feel like, okay, this is as bad as it gets, where like no jokes hit. And I'm like, okay, I can take this. Like once you know that you can like bomb and you're okay, like, and you know like what you did wrong, and you can kind of break that down, and you kind of feel like as much as you can in terms of that negativity, and you're like, okay, I can take this. Then it's fine. But yeah.
Yeah. You know, because usually people just struggle and struggle and struggle.
Yeah, keep going.
I think my love for comedy grew when I forced myself to start watching open mics.
Yeah.
And you just see how hard it is to sculpt something sometimes, you know, or you just see, you know, they started here, it morphed to that, you know, by the time I've seen them 6 months later, you're like, oh, they worked that thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's looking better, you know? So now, you know, I feel like I have a whole new respect when I see somebody who's got an amazing hour, just knowing what it comes from, you know?
I mean, a great example. I got to do a couple of shows with Ralph Barbosa a couple months ago, and I mean, he came out with a special, and I just remember hearing like from another friend, oh yeah, he's already got like 60 more minutes he's working out. And he's just working and stuff out on stage, just right in front of you. And I'm just like, how is he like pushing him out so fast and like still working on it constantly? Like it's stuff like that where I'm just kind of like, man, how does this lifestyle really work when, okay, you do your 60 minutes, you put it out, and it's like, okay, if you want to do another special, you got to write another 60 minutes over the next year.
Yeah.
When it took you 3 years to write that first 60 minutes.
Yeah. And you know, that's a part that you know I'm still learning, because I mean I was fortunate enough I got to produce Lawrence's special, Lawrence Rosales.
Oh, I love Lawrence. Yeah,
and you know, so that was the first one I'd produced. That was the first one he's recorded, and so we had our own opinions about how, you know, kind of how things should go from here in terms of, you know, I asked him beforehand, like, you know, so are you like you burning this material? Like if we're gonna kind of invest time and money and put this out there, you know, if this does something, you know, that we hope it would do, and you start having fans come to shows, you're not going to just do this material,
right?
And he's like, no, I got other material ready to go. I'm writing stuff. I was like, okay, and because that's kind of my thought process is, you know, and I'm still learning. I could be wrong. I think the people around here who have been doing this for, I don't know, 10 years.
Yeah,
let's say 10 years. There's a lot of good 10-year comics,
right,
in our city. You know, if you think back to our conversation about like Nate Bargatze, you know, he's the overnight success who's been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Everybody's like, oh, where does this guy come from?
Right.
Like,
He
has a special older than me. Like,
yeah,
you know,
but
like,
I mean, he's literally been doing this like 20 years.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, you know, then I think about Lawrence, who's right around a decade, what, you know, plus a few. I don't know exactly where he's at, but so to think, you know, okay, Nate Bargatze was at a point where he did 10 years.
Right.
And then it's like, he wouldn't have known only 10 more years until I'm wildly successful
we're
from
good
this.
To go. Yeah.
Right. And I'm doing Saturday Night Live and I'm making money. And so I wonder how many people are at that 10-year mark right now who, to me, I would think when you hit a decade, you're starting to think like, am I going to keep doing this?
Right.
Am I going to keep doing this? You know? And the answer is like, yeah, you kind of just now started.
Right. It literally, like, you're just now getting in that spot.
Which sucks to think about, right? And I think that's why those people are so good is at the 10-year mark, they pushed and pushed and pushed. All these other people fell off. They kept pushing. I think what we could do here locally for people around that 10-year mark is, you know, I'm trying to do my own part verbally just to say, package this up, the stuff that you've perfected over the last decade, right? We all know people where they've been using a lot of the same material for a while. And that's fine. I get that. I get why that material is so precious. But I think you're talented enough to write another version of those 3 times as quick now that you have a decade under your belt.
Right.
You know what to do, right? And so I've been encouraging people. It's like, look, hit it really hard for the next 6 months to a year, perfect this, and then send it off in the best you can possibly send it off, and then let's see what else you got.
Right.
Because I know how could you not? You already wrote this other funny stuff. You can't tell me you wrote that and that's all you got.
You're like, this is the best that I'll ever do.
I think that's some of what we're missing around here is just people feeling like they can push themselves harder, and, it's hard to tell somebody like work harder.
Yeah,
no one wants to hear that. Right. But I mean, think of your background, right? With band, frisbee, it's like the competitive nature of things is what really pushes it, right? As long as it's healthy.
Yeah.
And it's like, I bet after you saw that super fast guy, we were probably thinking like, shit, I'm so slow for a minute. But then you were probably thinking, I bet I could get faster.
Yeah, I still know his name, Daniel Winters, and I'll see. We're friends. We're friends now, good. And I'm just like, and now every time I see him, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be faster than you. Dude.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
and I think we need a little more of that healthy competition of, holy shit, did you see they just put something out? Oh my god, I want to do something and I want it to be better.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't know how you motivate it because I know it's so hard to tell a comic what you've sculpted. It's time to burn it.
Right.
But you have to.
I agree. I mean, it's just like, so.
I don't think you have to. 2 years in, I think you keep doing your thing.
I really need my stuff.
I think you keep doing your thing.
I really need the 30 minutes that I have. But I completely understand where you're at. I mean, I got to talk to Lawrence right before it was recorded. That's why it was recorded.
Cool.
And I was like, so like, how does it work? Like, because I'm still pretty fresh. I think I'm maybe a year in at this point.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I was talking to him about it, and he was like, yeah, man, I just want to put it out there and just so like I can move on. Like, it's great material and goes and everything, but like I got to push myself. I'm in a competition right now, the same competition, Purvis Wilson Funniest Stand-Up in Dallas. I'm in it right now, and I didn't even want to sign up. I didn't want to sign up because I don't like comedy competitions necessarily, just because I'm like, oh my god, it's so much stress being on stage. You don't have to worry. You have to worry about actually like doing everything perfect. But then I got in the competition and I started writing more, and I was already writing pretty often, but I started pushing myself. I'm thinking of my jokes all the time. It's kind of like, how can I make this better? I need this to be better next week, stuff like that. And it's like, it's a little stressful, but at the same time, I'm like, at the end of this, no matter how it ends, at the end of this, I'm better. Like, I know, so like.
I won't say too much about it yet, but there's another person that I believe we're going to be recording something in 2025.
Yeah.
And I'm getting real excited. And, but they kind of approached me and, we'd known each other already, but they were like, I've been thinking about doing this. And I was like, okay, well, from my experience now with Lawrence, here's what you need to do. Because to Lawrence's credit, and I think I've said this to him before. If not, I would say it to his face.
Right.
But Lawrence knows I'm an open book with him. But it's like, in my mind, I was thinking, well, I know the guy has had some issues with addiction in the past, and he's fallen apart before. And it's like, is he really going to be prepared to do this? Because we're not a big production company, right? It's me and Lawrence.
Yeah. The duo.
Yeah, and it's like, we don't have, 4 shows over 2 nights, it's like Hyenas gave us a Thursday to do that.
Yeah.
And I was like, fucking great, thank you. And so in my mind, you're staying positive, right? But you're like, it's just one take.
Yeah, literally one shot.
We hired a camera crew. It's taking money and time, and we told everybody we're recording, so we're not going to do it a second time.
One shot.
And so you're just wondering, like, God, I hope. And there's all these stereotypes about comics. They're lazy, they're unmotivated, and it's like I know Lawrence a little.
Yeah.
I don't know him well enough to know how he's going to approach this occasion.
Right.
And to his credit, he was like hitting the gym every day, staying as focused as he was doing all these shows, and then the community as a whole, it's like, for example, like the guys doing Cowabunga, Neons, and TV.
Yeah.
Or, sorry, I keep calling him TV, Vinny.
Yeah,
Vinny, sorry. Didn't mean to dead name you there. But to their credit, they were like, oh, you're recording something? Like, what nights do you want to come here and do guest spots?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, so to his credit, like, he was getting out there and not only doing the stage work, but he was doing, like, physical work to get himself, like, healthy and focused. And I was like, hell yeah, okay. And just watching that progression of him taking this, I mean, he always took it seriously, but seeing a comic, who might be stereotyped in many different ways,
right?
Getting focused and then showing up and just doing it, and you're like, hell yeah. I don't know. I mean, everything could go better, but that went really good.
Lawrence was locked in.
I loved it, man.
Yeah.
And then what I really loved about him is after we'd kind of gotten through, put it out there, after him and I had watched multiple versions of edits of how, like, you know, we didn't edit a lot, but just, you know, you watch it over and over, sound, all this stuff. It's like there were little sound edits. You had to pull things out, like between one of his punchlines, a waitress popped a champagne cork. So it's just like, luckily it was in this perfect pause where you could edit it out, but we're just going back through looking for these little things that could be distracting. And so you listen to it like 20, 30 times, you know, and after all that, he's like, yeah, I've already heard what I should have done better.
Right.
It's like,
right.
hell yeah.
And
Man.
now
Okay,
he knows,
let's go do another hour, Lawrence. Come on, man. You got it in there. And so now I've got this other person that I think we're going to do something in 2025, and they're kind of doing that right now. They're like, I booked all these shows. I'm doing this. I'm trying to lock this in here. I think I can go here and do this much time here and work on it there. And I'm like, okay, yeah. Now I'm getting pumped again. And I think that's all. It doesn't have to be through me. I think find whoever you want and just start kind of putting yourself in a corner.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a DFW comic and you've got a certain amount of years under your belt, just start backing yourself into that corner and see what you come up with.
Right.
I think it's going to be pretty good.
That's exactly. It's a feeling like, you know, pushing yourself. Like, it's crazy because the whole time you're working to get, or in the beginning, in the years that I'm in right now, it's like you're working to get comfortable on stage and finding your voice, but comfortable. And then like once you get comfortable, it's like, okay, now make yourself uncomfortable. Like, you know what I mean? Like push yourself to get to the next level. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's such a weird thing because, like, when you have to like be put in these situations and then you find out what it turns out in the end, you're like, oh wow, like,
yeah,
I record everything I do now. I look back at it and I'm like, man,
yeah,
I'm killing this now.
And that's only 2 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Only 2 years.
Yeah.
And so, you know, at your 4 and 5 year mark, you're going to look back on this version of yourself and go, oh, he didn't even have a clue.
No,
look where I've gone. You know,
look at his hat, stupid. You know,
you know, like a great example of that we were talking about him is Ryan Perio.
yeah, I love Ryan.
He's a fucking killer.
Oh my god, yeah,
Killer. And I don't mean like a local killer.
No.
I've seen that guy so many times, sharp as a tack. He's got his own version, his own style that he, you know, it's uniquely Ryan Perio. And, you know, you just wonder, it's like, okay, what can we do collectively as a community here? What can we do for Ryan so that the national level knows about this?
This guy's here.
I think that's my big fear is we've got these talents who won't get their due.
Right.
You know, it's like, I just don't want him to fly under the radar. And I'm not saying he is. He gets plenty of work. He's doing fine. But, you know, it's like, hopefully at that 20-year mark or whatever, he gets that Nate Bargatze jump that we're all talking about. And people are just like, did you hear about this new guy, Perio? It's like, yeah, we heard about him.
Another Dallas guy.
And he's just one example. You know, it's like we could go down that list.
Yeah.
And you just wonder. But I don't know. It's hard to say, hey, here's what you should do. I'm not a comedian, by the way. Let me tell you how to do this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Working with Lawrence is pretty eye opening, and I don't know. Learned a lot from it. I'm excited to do the next one.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like that's my project right now over the next several years is just gaining trust.
Right.
Just slowly gain trust so that if I offer my opinion, it will be received in a productive way.
In a good way, yeah.
But it's difficult, and then there's new faces every year.
All like it's not like people could start comedy tomorrow. It's not like, okay, in a few months you'll have a new group.
Yeah,
a few
the new
months
season.
It's it does feel like that apparently sometimes. You know, there are classes like you say, like actually me, Peyton. I don't know if you know Kane and Taylor, but we all started around the same time. We're all like we like to call ourselves.
Who's Taylor? I think I haven't heard of Taylor.
Weddington.
I heard
Taylor
the name.
Pete,
I haven't watched.
Yeah.
Kane. I watched one time.
Yeah.
And it was at a show where I was the only audience member.
Oh. I'm sure it was great. Honestly.
And well, no, he's one I keep trying to watch more of. My schedule just doesn't line up with what his stuff's doing. But I've actually had more just regular conversations with him than I've seen his actual set. But yeah, that sounds like a fun group. So y'all were. What, you just started at the same time? Is that what you were saying?
We all started around the same time and just kind of became real good friends. We call ourselves the Broccoli Bunch. We're like a gang. It's fun. It's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like when you think about a class, it's kind of like a class. We didn't take class together, but we all started around the same time. And it's kind of like, it's good. Like in terms of like the four of us, when we were around each other, we're all fun. We push each other. We ride with each other. You know, it's all it's good for building and everything.
So what's y'all's philosophy then at this point working together? What do y'all think is the key to keep getting better at this stuff when y'all talk to each other?
Honestly, so right now when we talk to each other, it's a lot of just like jokes. We don't push each other too hard, but we tell each other like we've been more honest and just kind of like, hey, you're doing this show, this is how this goes. You know what I mean? Like, hey, we kind of push each other to make like really good final products of everything in terms of, hey, this joke is nice. Hey, this show is going to be cool. The poster's weird, you know, whatever it may be. But it's a lot of stuff like that. But all four of us are in the competition for funniest person, funniest stand-up in Dallas right now. And there's only like 8 spots. So like we're in a good spot. But in terms of like pushing each other like comedically, when you're only like 2 years in, it's just about like, hey, writing and stuff like that. But
it's more survival.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah.
That's all you can really say. But
that's so fun though, man. That's so fun. Because it's interesting. You seem like you have kind of found a style for yourself up there, but clearly you're probably still just exploring all of it, right? A lot of
experiments, yeah. It, like small things, but it's like, it seems small, but then it's like I'll hear later on and be like, hey, this thing that you do, keep doing that. Like somebody, I think Trey Mack, do you know Trey Mack? Trey Mack's great. I think one time we were at a show together and he goes, you're a great writer, but sometimes you do this thing where you'll go off your script and you can tell you're off your script and you'll just act like, you'll do something that almost seems out of character, but it's hilarious. He's like, I just want you to do that more. And like, over the past like 7 months, I've been doing it more, and it's just been working out.
There's a comic, I don't want to say their name, but I like them a lot. And they went through a very short phase where when I saw them, they were like angrily yelling at the crowd. And they're not typically like that, but it was getting laughs, and I was like, I kind of really like this bird because I feel like you were genuinely frustrated, and you just kind of went with it.
It's real,
and it was like, that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have never told them, but I always wanted to be like, hey, you remember when you got really mad that one time? Like, you ever thought about channeling that some more? But
it's kind of crazy. Like, I think about it a lot more now, or it's kind of like when you're like finding your voice on stage, or like finding out like what your stage presence is. What I'm starting to learn, or at least maybe this is the way I see it, is it's like the personality traits that you have in just like regular everyday life, like which of those traits actually translate to stage and you can actually bring with you on stage, until eventually like you work long enough to the point where it's like you're more yourself on stage than you are off stage. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'd like to think of it, at least. But
yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what it's got to be, right?
Right.
It's like it's almost the hackiest thing you can say, but it's like you really do have to be authentic.
Yeah,
it's got to be yourself.
The whole thing. You know? But
I have finally got to a point, maybe over the last like 3 or 4 years, where you can feel that, and you can just really sniff it out.
Yeah.
And it makes me frustrated when you see someone who you can tell would be very funny if they would like drop the act. And it's like, I can tell you're a funny person, but your presence on stage, it's like, it's garbage.
Yeah. What is that? You know?
Yeah. And it's you know, you see a funny person falling into that kind of like. I don't even know how to describe it. It almost feels like they're at like a county fair. Like, and then I said, and it's like, what are you doing?
What is this?
What are you doing? I've seen you be funnier than this, but I don't know. I don't pretend to know. I'm still learning quite a bit, you know. And it's like, you know how it is. Right? As soon as you feel like you've got something figured out, you learn something else, and you're totally off base. So I know I'm going to listen to this later on and go, that guy didn't know anything. It's exciting, man. I love this little comedy scene. And it's fascinating. Like, the longer I'm in it, the more people I realize I've never heard of.
Right.
And it's like, holy cow, this thing just keeps going.
Who's this guy?
Yeah. So do you try to do a mix of open mics and regular shows now? What's your game plan?
I do. I mean, I don't. I try to get on stage like 5 times a week. I'll put it that way. So like between like shows and open mics, I try to get like a good 5 times a week on. You know, they say like you're supposed to try to write like 10 jokes a day, which
10 jokes a day,
which is just insane. I mean, like that's what they say you got to do, and then like of that 10 jokes, only like one's going to be good. You know, so
I did talk to one comic just at the bar. They were just talking, and I was just kind of listening to everything they were saying, and they were giving another comic advice about how they should be writing, and it was like talking about sitting down for 2 hours a day, that, right? And I think that's probably great for a writing exercise.
Yeah.
It's great. But it just it also was a little, they were giving out that advice, but they were not very successful.
Right. You just kind of like, is that what you do?
Yeah, I don't know. Love it or hate it. I know people, it's polarizing, but I do think that's what's incredible about the regulars on Kill Tony.
Yeah.
I think a minute a week is fast paced.
Yeah.
But, it is a reasonable, heard enough of that show now where you see some of these regulars over the past improve so quickly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about 10 jokes a day, but I do feel like that whole formula of a minute a week is...
A minute a week is good.
Yeah.
That's very solid, yeah. I mean,
if you wrote, 52 minutes that year, there's got to be 5 in there that's pretty good.
that's like solid, like
Yeah.
really good stuff,
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and that's how it is,
Yeah, it's... yeah. Kill Tony's a unique phenomenon. Have you
It
ever
is.
signed up for it?
I've never signed up.
You
I've
think
never
you will?
signed up. I keep saying I will,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, I would sign up. It doesn't even guarantee that I would
Sure.
get on or anything, but it is a unique experience in the sense that it's kind of like, can you be funny for a
Oh,
minute?
your buddy Kane.
Kane,
Yeah, he got pulled there, huh?
Kane got pulled there, and it was crazy because that was like on his birthday, and he got the big boat, and it was everything. So it was a crazy time. I've had several friends that have gone up there, and even like there's a couple Dallas guys who like it's like changed their whole thing. Drew Nickens was a big thing on there for a while, and
It's an interesting show, right? Because, Tony himself's polarizing. Everybody's got their own opinion, especially recently. But
yeah.
but the show itself, it's like some people, some of the regulars like Ali Makovsky
Yeah.
launched a huge career from Kill Tony.
Yeah.
And it's like she took that minute seriously. She took the advice of the mentorship of them, and boom. And then you get these other people who are like, oh, you'll never be famous off that show. Don't ever do it. And it's
Right.
like, well, there's a lot of people who went up there, they were regulars, and nothing happened.
Right.
But there's also more than a handful where they have legit careers.
Some people explode off of that, just like, overnight 4,000 followers, which that's how the industry is measured
Sure.
right now anyway. But
Yeah. But oh my gosh, I'm trying to think. There's two ladies. They were like early on Kill Tony. I just remember one of them, her name's Shank. I cannot think of her fucking name.
Shank's
right.
a cool name, but no.
Yeah, that's her nickname. Anyway, but the two of them, they were regulars, legit careers. That's what they do now is comedy. And then it's like even the band members, like Jeremiah Watkins.
Yeah, Jeremiah Watkins, yeah.
He's another one. It's like one of the best doing it right now. That he's probably going to be funny no matter what. But you can't deny that Kill Tony.
Yeah.
That had to have sharpened him.
Had to push a little, like had
Yeah.
to push him. So
Yeah, so I don't know. We signed up drunkenly when they came to Fort Worth a long time ago. Like before it was this huge Austin thing when they
Yeah.
were still in LA. Me and 3 friends, none of us comics, and we went and got a few drinks before the show, and then we'd all found out we'd secretly been like, I might have tried to work on a minute.
I might have written some things down.
I might have, if you sign up,
Right.
I'll sign up. And so we all signed up. And in those days, the show it was very popular.
Right.
They're touring with it,
Right.
But it wasn't what it is now. And but even then, I was thinking, he usually gets like 10 people up an episode if it's a busy one, and they usually have like 100 names in the bucket.
Right.
One out of 10, we'd be all right. And there's 4 of us, and then he comes out with a beer pitcher at Hyenas, and it's 40 people signed up. So all of a sudden our chances are just like, oh my God, I might actually get called up there. And every time the rush, every time that hand went in the bucket of thinking, oh God, why did I sign up for this? Thankfully none of us got called, surprisingly. But I just remember that electricity of that show.
Yeah.
It's wild, man.
It's crazy. The crazy thing about it is like I'll be at an open mic like here. It's great. Dallas's open mic has like 20 people there. It'd be great. And I'm just like, it's so crazy to think people are going up there and be like, this is my first time. And it's like you're in front of like 500 people.
Yeah.
You're only doing a minute, which is also a weird amount of time. And then even with that minute, they'll do 40 seconds and be like, well, that's all I got. And I'm like, what? This is crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy.
Yeah.
That's what you should probably sign up for it just to get that experience.
Oh, I want to sign up just so I can be like, all right, we did it. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, like you said, who at this level of your comedy journey, it's like, who doesn't want to go in front of 300, 400, 500 people?
you know what I mean? Yeah.
Why not?
Just see, this is what I got. you know?
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, that's the key is just don't try to roast back.
Yeah,
right?
it's like you see
You're
guys,
not gonna win.
you see guys that go on there and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the show, and then they try to roast, and I'm like, are you a big fan of the show? Because like that's like the one thing that almost guarantees.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's what made me the most afraid is because when you're there at the show and it starts, you realize like, oh yeah, everything I thought I could say that would be funny is garbage, and this would be horrible. But like it's worse
Right.
to not go up there,
Right.
and it's worse to get up there and try to be. It's like I would have just had to have done a bad minute, eating shit through whatever the interview was,
Right.
and it's like that's the only way you can salvage this.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I know people hate on it, but I think it has its place. I like it.
It is definitely something where it's just kind of like I mean, it's built this whole community and everything
Sure.
now. I think a lot of people. I know a lot of people who like haven't been to a stand-up show, and then like they were like, oh, and then I heard about Kill Tony, and now they like there's like this roster of people that they're like interested in seeing.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of people like nowadays, whenever I'm at a show, I'll be like, whose first comedy show is this? And most of the room will be like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, they go to like one, maybe two, their whole life.
I think it's good for that, man. And then, okay, great. So 40 people get glory off of 1 minute, and they never do anything with that, right?
Yeah.
But there's going to be one or two who
Right.
get glory, and they deserved it.
Yeah.
And it helped their career.
Yeah.
It's worth it, right? And essentially, that's what an open mic is, right? If I go sit at an open mic start to finish, 40% of it's going to be funny.
Right. Right.
You know what I mean? And the rest of it's going to be people just working on stuff, and some people just have mental illness, and they're
Yeah.
up there just venting.
And they're just kind of like
Right?
like
And it's like, well, you wouldn't get rid of that whole open mic just because, that it's like you still want that 40%.
Right.
That are really,
see what this is.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I know Austin's its own version, its own scene, its own craziness, and that's fine. It's like, have Austin, have Houston, have
Right.
Dallas, have Fort Worth, have it all.
Yeah.
But you're dead on. It definitely exposes so many people to comedy.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like the huge impact that it's had with that whole thing.
Yeah.
Talking about that, like, and especially with the whole reasons, that's what I like about Dallas so much. Like, you spoke about how like you feel like this scene is really, really cool, and this has like a couple of people, and you think there's going to be a burst out. I've talked about it with like several people now. We're just kind of like, yeah, Dallas is really, really cool because there's a lot of talent, there's a lot of clubs, so there's a lot of opportunity for you to get on stage and really work your craft a lot. But one of the coolest things about it is like Dallas is only like 3 hours away from Austin, which is like supposed to be this huge thing
There
right
you go.
now. It's kind of like, oh yeah, if you want to work in Dallas, tune it up, go to Austin, show them what you have, come right back.
You hear some of these people on social media talk about like, oh, Austin ain't shit, blah, blah, and it's like, whoa. Why are we going down that road?
right.
Why are we going down that road? It's
Right.
comedy.
Right.
What we like? First of all, like you said, we got a lot of clubs. We got a lot of room up here. Okay. What's the harm in going? Some of you Austin people want to come up here and do some shows, and you want to take some of us down there and do some shows. It's like,
Right.
what is the harm in building up a nice Texas scene?
Be easy.
It would be wonderful,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, there's plenty. What are we? We're getting close to. I think we're at 8 billion people in the world now.
Yeah, so my God.
Okay, you all have your opportunity to make somebody laugh.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fine.
yeah. Everyone's gonna get a shot.
Right. Like, why do we have to turn it into this competition? It's like, sure, Austin's gonna have its share of like over the top shock comedy that's only really gonna work down there. That's great. Let them have their stuff.
That's your scene.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
it's great. And to deny that it is like a flash in the like people who are like, oh, it's gonna pop for a minute. It's like, no, it's there to stay.
It's here right now.
Yeah, until Joe Rogan dies and the club folds, if it does. That he's got endless money and he doesn't care about making money off his club.
Exactly.
Club. It's there.
It's
Embrace
gonna be
it.
there.
It's gonna be fun, and it's like you said, it's good for us.
Yeah,
It's good for everybody.
it helps out all the locals.
Dude, we just went through. Me and my wife, we went down to Waco last weekend.
Yeah.
Just did a little day trip to see all the the Chip and Joanne gangs, the Magnolia Farm. So
Yeah.
we did that, and but you're there and you're like, man, Waco. I haven't been here in a while. Like, this is a nice little downtown.
Yeah, they
This
built it
place
up.
we need a little comedy club down here or something. Like, it's really nice.
Yeah.
I mean, we got we had a couple meals down there, checked out the little downtown area and the stuff over by Baylor. Went down by the river and everything. It's like, okay, so there's one more stop between Dallas and Austin.
Right.
One more thing to just make this big comedy, mega center of Texas.
Into college town already, so
Dude.
it's kind of like people will be there
Yeah, and they change in and out every
year. So it's all there. I know they do comedy shows in Waco. I've done it before, but
it's a theater down there, right?
yeah, they have a Brazos
Theater. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I don't know if he still does it, but Paul Smith, I think, was
Paul
booking that,
Smith's
right?
guy. Yeah,
Yeah, I keep telling him I'm going to go to one of those, and I keep forgetting. But
yeah. It's a good time.
that's the start, right?
Yeah, fun show. Yeah,
Booking that up.
Yeah, that was like the first time I got to like do an out of town show,
Mm-hmm.
and it was cool. But they also had like their Halloween decorations up still.
Oh,
So there's like a casket on stage. And I was like,
interesting.
I was like, oh, this is cool because like if I bomb, I'm just gonna lay down in there for the rest of my set. It was great. It was a fun time.
So that was at the Brazos Theater. The
Yeah.
show you looked. What is that theater like
I mean,
when it's not Halloween?
when it's not,
Yeah.
that's a good question. No,
I mean, like, how many people does it hold?
probably 100.
Oh, okay. So it's
Yeah.
like a tight little theater.
Yeah,
That's
it's a tight
nice.
little- yeah, it's a what's the word for it? Not a soapbox theater. What is it called?
Black box.
Black box theater.
Yeah.
I guess it's not even a black box theater, like because it's not like, but pretty close. Pretty
Okay.
close. It holds about 100. Yeah.
That's a good little room, though.
Yeah. No, it was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You hear theater, you think,
Yeah.
1,500 people or
no,
something.
Yeah, but
Oh, that's really cool. That makes me want to go see it more then.
mhm.
Yeah, those are the best little shows, or those interesting little rooms like that.
yeah, it was a good time. And the crowd. I remember the crowd being pretty nice. I hear good things about it all the time, but yeah.
Yeah, you just happened to go on Halloween and there was a casket up there.
It wasn't even Halloween. That was the crazy part. I was just like, "What's going on?" They just like they put on productions there. I think monthly or something like that.
So it was somebody else's set design.
Yeah, and they were like, "Well, we're not taking this down for you guys." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, just do your comedy thing. We have a 8:30 show. If y'all
Like,
could wrap it up.
There was like a picture, like a werewolf painting on the back. I was like, "What play was it? Like, what is this, Twilight?" Like, it's cool. It was good. It was fine.
Oh my gosh, we were talking about exposure to comedy. Do you remember your first exposure? Do you remember the first time you saw anything related to stand up?
Yeah. So I mean, it's actually kind of crazy. In my household, we love comedy in my household,
okay.
but we had like a lot of bootleg DVDs. And I think one of the first specials that I really got to watch was probably Cat Williams. Like, which one?
Was it the Pimp Chronicles?
Pimp Chronicles was like, it would have been, that would have been further down.
Okay.
But I mean, I think Cat Williams was one of my early ones.
Okay.
Oh, no. Mike Epps was one of my early ones too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's been doing it since like Apollo.
Yeah.
That was one of them. And then like the other one would be watching like Showtime at the Apollo.
Yeah.
And they would have comedians go up. And if they sucked, they would pull them off with like the hook.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is.
I just would have thought you would have been too young for Showtime at the Apollo.
No, I mean, it would be reruns. It would be
Yeah.
reruns. And like I would have to stay up to watch it.
What a fucking great show, though.
Yeah. Oh, bring it back. Like, what are we doing? Like it's.
I think it's harder to bring it back now because you have to. That crowd. Okay, our earliest conversation. That crowd's brutal.
That crowd was so live.
But if you were honest and you honed your craft, if you had put in the work and you didn't have an ego, then they embraced you and they welcomed you and everybody was cheering. I mean, they would give you everything, or they would tell you, get the fuck out.
Yeah, are you serious? Like, why are you here? You know what I mean?
I think that's why that show was so great, right? That's why you watched. You never knew.
It was an actual like make or break show where it's kind of like you would feel so defeated if everything went wrong. But if like you were able to convince that crowd that you were good at what you were doing, you were famous within the next month.
Well, and the flashiest thing about that show was Steve Harvey's suits and Kiki Shepard's dresses, right?
Yeah.
Everything else was just normal show.
It was regular.
Normal show, right?
Yeah.
And so now, like, if they brought back Apollo now, they'd probably try to make it too much like The Voice or something. They'd be like, oh, we got to do this. And it's like, no, keep it raw.
It needs to be raw.
Like the house lights were up for most of it. I mean, that's a tough thing. So when they earned applause there, I mean, they fucking earned it.
Oh my God. It wouldn't just be like applause. Like now a good comedy show specifically, like if things are just, oh, this is amazing, you get like a standing ovation. They'll stand up and everything. At that show, they'd be like punching the air, just like, like a football crowd.
And 100% non-discriminatory.
Right.
If you walk out there and you're like way different, you've got about 15 seconds. They'll give you the opportunity. They're like, well, let's see what this person's. Let's see what's happening. I don't know. And then they would give you, how many singers did you see go on there where it's like they're nervous, it's a little shaky for a moment, but then they pan to the crowd and there's like 5 people just kind of swaying a little. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling it. And then before you know it, they get a little confidence and then the whole crowd is in. It's like they would give you your shot.
Yeah, they would really give it a shot.
I love that show.
The shaky ones were always really funny because it would be like the crowd would be like boo, and then like they get to like the middle of the song, and the crowd would be like, well, wait a minute, hold on, he's got something here, I love that.
So
show.
I got to watch a bunch of those, live. Like whenever they were playing them on, like, I don't know, it's probably like CW33 or something.
But like late, I think back then it was something else. It was I used to know because oh my God,
I don't remember what it was, but I just remember, like we didn't have cable or anything.
Yeah.
Small town.
Same.
And it was like, one, we didn't have money. 2, I don't think they ran the cable lines out there.
Not at all.
So we were just watching, TV antenna TV, and that was one of the stations. So it's like late night, that came on. You're like, hell yeah. Yeah. But I mean that was probably, I forgot all about that show until we talked about it. But that was like one of the top shows of my childhood. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. You're in like production and stuff now, so but no, man, it was so good.
Well, it was even down to the detail. It didn't dawn on me till years later, but even how like if you came out on stage, what was the thing you rubbed?
Mm-hmm. Oh, like the little wood, right? Yeah.
I can't remember what it was called, but like if you walked past that and forgot to rub it, and you disrespected the theater or whatever. Everyone's just like, nope, done. But it was just that kind of that nuance of like kind of like know your audience, know your crowd. Like details matter sometimes. You better hit that. Don't overdo it. Yeah. Don't like give it a bear hug and get crazy. Just give a quick little all right,
good glance.
Yeah, and it's like these places that have like tradition, and it's like you forget how important those little things are to. I mean, it should just be a show, but it's like, hey, you don't miss that.
No,
don't you dare. I mean, I feel like my memory's probably way off, but I feel like it was even like you could tell there'd been so many hands on it. It's changing colors now or something.
Yeah, yeah. I wonder if it's like still there. I haven't looked into it, but I wonder if they still have this. It's not a stump. I can't remember. What it's called.
I wish I could remember.
It looked like wood, but
I got to look it up. But well, the theater's still there, right?
Yeah, the theater's still there.
Yeah,
so,
I mean you can't get rid of that.
I know they've had some renovations and stuff and changed some things around since then, but. Man, what a great show. It was one of my favorites growing up.
I wonder if somebody like Steve Harvey could bring it back,
Oh, man, he has the power to do it. But, I mean, they just have they have talent shows everywhere now. Like, I think, like America's Got Talent, stuff like that. I think HBO's got one coming out, too. But, I mean, that one was just so different because of the raw energy. There was just kind of like the crowd makes or breaks you. There's not judges here. There's the crowd and there's you. That's it.
I guess it was a stump because it's called the Tree of Hope.
Right, that's what I thought. Yeah,
the Tree of Hope. But I thought they called it something different, like a more like just like a slang term. But okay, anyway, Tree of Hope.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just a stump.
Yeah,
but yeah, they said every performer has touched it.
Yeah,
so that's wild. But yeah, I wonder if a guy like Steve Harvey could bring it back and do it like again, do it right,
the right way,
the right way,
the right way. Yeah, same way with like Def Comedy Jam, like when Martin was hosting. Like.
Yeah, I feel like we've got to be nearing that era where some of that comes back, because it seems like it's all little, like bands like Nirvana.
Yeah,
they came out because there were all these, really polished, like rock bands, and they just thought, it's too much over the,
Yeah,
and I think comedy's probably doing some of that too. It's like we're gonna have all this really high production stuff come in, and then I think people are gonna be like, no, I just want to see this one.
Yeah,
there's this comic out of New York. I think he's out of New York. Gavin Matz.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. He's smart. Oh, he's another one of those guys who's like super smart, but he acts dumb sometimes. Just because.
His, I can't remember the name of his special, but it's out there. But he did it in one of those black box style theaters. Mm-hmm. And to me, that was maybe one of the best filmed specials. It's like they honed in on exactly what it needed to look like for him.
Right, right.
Hardly anything in the background, a couple lights. I just remember there being like a yellow light and a green light.
I thought he was outside. I literally, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, for who he is and the timing of his comedy, I was like, I don't think this could have been filmed any better whereas other people would have been like, okay, Gavin, we're going to put you in a theater. We're going to get all this dramatic backlighting. When you come out, we're going to have confetti machines and blah, blah, blah. Stuff,
yeah.
It's like, no, but for him, that is so off the mark,
Perfect.
Yeah, and I think it's going to get to that. I think you cycle through these where we're going to push the boundaries of production and blah, 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 and then we'll reel it back in a little bit.
Yeah,
and then we'll push the boundaries again later and bring it back in. I don't know.
I just watched that special a couple of weeks ago.
It's good, right?
It's so good. He's funny, man. He's hilarious.
Really funny.
He's hilarious.
I'm surprised he's as under the radar as he is still.
I think he's still, it's like you said, it's one of those things where he's been doing, I think he says how long he's been doing in the special. I think he was at 6 years whenever that special came out or something like that. But it's another one of those guys where he's like opening for bigger guys. So
yeah.
I'm sure he's on.
He's around all the right people.
Yeah.
You see him on all the right stages.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if the goal is even to be a household name, but you just hope that you're thriving enough in comedy. Mm-hmm. Like, I just hope he feels like he's doing well.
Right, exactly.
That he's not like, when am I going to catch my break?
Like, where is it at? Like he's popping off. He's doing great.
Well, and he was one of the more original voices I've heard in a while.
Yeah.
Where just the cadence, everything about it.
Really smart, like humor, where it's kind of like literally everything he talks about, where he's just kind of like, oh, economics, that's how I talk. Like he's everything he talks about.
Well, I'm sure you saw.
This is him.
I don't know if it was in that special or if it was something else, but where he went down this long road to link the people who are insecure enough to drive Ford F-150s that are all like lifting stuff, like they're the reason we need all this oil, and that's the reason we go to war. And so he's basically like 9/11 was brought to you by Ford or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, he always starts off, you're thinking, what is this jackass talking about?
Yeah.
And then he gets to this incredibly clever punch, and you're like, oh my God.
Oh, he's smart.
I never even saw that.
The whole time you think he's like pretending, like not pretending to be dumb, but like
Yeah.
the way he talks, you're just kind of like, oh, well, this is slower.
Yeah.
You don't need, and it's so clever.
I felt so like I felt like really like validated, but then I also felt really embarrassed because when I watched that special, I'd written an article about it and I put it out, and you know, you tag the people in it, but I was thinking, he's whatever. And he clipped out a little piece of it and shared it, and I was like, "Oh, hell yeah!" But it was a part where I'd written how I said something along the lines of like if he wasn't on a stage with a mic, you know, being filmed, he would basically look like all the homeless people you see ranting on the streets, you know. And I meant it from a place of love, I meant like this is really good. Right. And when he clipped just that section, I was like, "Damn!"
Well, no, go read the whole thing.
Yeah, no, you read all of it though, right?
Oh,
but it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I love it.
No,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
great.
He's one I hope more people learn about that. And it's like, what do we got to do here locally to start snagging people like that down here?
Right.
I'd love to see him headline one of these clubs down here.
I mean, they get a couple New Yorkers down here.
It's just hard. We got to build that pipeline, you know.
That's what it is. Like, but you know what it is? Like, they talk to each other. Like him. There's another guy, Jeffrey Osmus, and they're both.
Oh, I do know him. Yeah, yeah.
I got to work with him in Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
But they all like talk to each other. Oh yeah, whenever I went to Dallas, I hit this spot. You know what I mean? Like have agents and everything. But you send one, they like the spot, they bring two next time.
Dude, Jeff, he fucking goes for it, dude.
He's a genius. He has like 7 degrees. Like,
I just love to like. I mean, it sounds, you know, cliche when you're a dude where you're just like, you know, he doesn't care about getting offended.
No.
But no, genuinely, like he doesn't give a fuck.
No,
man.
not at all.
And he's quick enough to just like he'll put himself in a corner and he's not worried about it at all.
And he just works his way out. And
funny, dude.
It's crazy. He does stuff where I'm just kind of like, I don't know anyone else right now in comedy who could get away with the stuff that he gets away with on stage.
No, and he doesn't do it like some people are really charming and sweet, or like it's a woman who has like a pretty smile so she can say.
No.
He looks like a guy who is a, you know, average Joe drinking at a bar, voicing his opinions. We're like, well, you know what I think about these people. But somehow it's still crafted well enough. He just
works.
I don't know if it's just his little laugh or whatever. I don't know if that disarms people or what.
The only way I could describe his delivery, and I love the guy. I loved everything about his comedy. It's awesome. But the only way I could describe it was like, oh my God, he has like the douchiest way of doing things. And then like, but it works so well. Or I'm just kind of like, it's almost like he's making people look stupid.
Yeah.
But like everybody's with it. You know what I mean? It's smart.
But isn't that so much more refreshing than the, you know, so I was at the bank.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, yeah, what happened there?
Oh my God.
Yeah, bank's crazy, man. I know.
Oh man.
So it's like, yeah, I know. I guess he says all these edgy things, but it never feels like he's trying to push an envelope. He just is thinking it and says it, and it's like, all right, that was really, really fucking funny.
While I was working with him I did Blue Whale Festival, and I got to feature for him this past year. And so he's up on stage doing his thing, and he kind of dives in the crowd. He messes with people, and one of the funniest things happens. There's this one guy in particular that he's kind of like on, where he's kind of like joking around with him, making him look like an idiot. And somebody comes up to me and the other guy that's featuring for him, and he goes, "Hey, that guy he's talking to, that's easily like the most important like man in Tulsa right now. Like he's the reason that the radio stations, everything, the radio tower, he's part of the reason why this building is here." So he goes, make sure that guy's good. And Jeffrey's just like tearing into the guy. And he gets off the stage and we go, "Hey, Jeffrey, that was the most important man in here." He goes, "Oh, that guy?" And we go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, he loved it." You know, like it was.
Oh, but that's like, I mean, look, he came to a comedy show.
Yeah.
You fucking know what you're getting into.
Dude had a good time.
Absolutely. Oh my God. You ever see that Key and Peele skit where, oh my God, I always
The burn victim?
Yes.
Yeah. I think about that all the time.
Every time I'm like, oh no, you know, people in wheelchairs and stuff, like they want to be included, and well, you know, it's like don't leave people out. And then for people who don't know, just go watch it. It's Key and Peele. I don't know, stand up burn victim.
Yeah,
it's fucking hilarious. I thought I could take it.
It's like the cry that he does. He's like, is he crying or laughing? Yeah, exactly. one of the funniest. They were they're so smart, man. I love that one. Another like skit that I love, a comedy skit. It's not a skit, but it's like a comedy stand-up related that was in a movie. There's this Will Ferrell movie called The House.
Yeah.
Where they have like their own little casino inside of the house. And when it's first starting up, it's an illegal casino. And they hire a comedian and he's performing to an audience of one. And the guy is just in the chair just, oh, stop it. Stop. And I'm like, that is the dream. Like, that is the goal. If I can kill just one dude like on stage like that, I know I've made it, you know?
Like I said, I was the only audience member once.
Yeah.
And I think was more terrified because I was like, I'm the only reaction you're watching. And you're just sitting there, you're like, do I just do the polite smile? And
that's good.
Because I'm not a gut busting laugh.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like a
right.
That's pretty good. You know what I mean? Like if you're incredible, I'll get there.
Right.
But for the average person, you know, it's like I'm still at that zone where I'm like, oh, that was funny.
Right.
And when you're the only person, you know, when I can hide in a crowd, that's great. You know, or I'll clap. I'll do a lot of claps, do some woos or something. But yeah, that was the worst feeling I ever had was sitting there. I even told them beforehand, I was like, I don't mind if y'all don't want to do the
y'all
show.
canceled the show.
It's fine, whatever. And they were like, no, we'll run through our stuff. I was like, okay.
No.
Give me another drink, please.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a few. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, because nobody wants to like laugh alone. That's how I always say. Like,
yeah.
No one wants to laugh alone. I mean, there are some people you'll get where it's just kind of like they'll laugh no matter what. Like they're nervous tick. But I mean, you can be.
I have one friend that'll go with me to shows like that, where it's, you know, one of the more offbeat shows or something. I'm checking something out. But most people, it's like I try not to take them to that because you know, it's a different level of comedy fan, and if it's not going to be as funny as a regular show sometimes. But I really enjoy those more experimental shows.
Right.
But usually those shows, they do a good enough job. There's people, you know, I can just blend right in. I've never showed up and it was just me. I don't know what it was. It was just, I don't know if there was a game on that night. It was like worlds collided. But normally I can just kind of like sit back in the back, watch a show. It's all good. But yeah, my one friend, he would go with me to every single one of them if he just had the time.
Right.
But he loves it. He went out to Tyler with me to go check out Rose City.
Rose City?
Yeah.
I was just there twice over the past like week.
Yeah.
Like,
did you hear their announcement?
Oh yeah, so I think I can talk about it now. So like their opening day of their new club, I'm actually going to be the opener for that specific weekend.
Well,
so.
I reached out to I was calling him Chris. I guess everybody calls him Shy though.
So Shy or Christopher. Yeah.
Christopher, yeah. But anyway, I messaged him. I was like, dude, congratulations, man. You know, love to get you on the podcast. And he told me, you know, oh, we're going to open up this day if you want to come watch. I was like, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah.
I'm just fascinated that for people who don't know, Rose City Comedy out in Tyler has just expanded. They're opening up this new location in December.
Yeah.
And it's like he just redid the lobby of the current one, right?
He just redid the lobby, got that and that lobby used to be the comedy club.
Yeah. Jason McAdam was on here, and he was explaining that. And I saw some of the old pictures of how it was just this narrow little corridor, and he was talking a little bit about the previous owner, and it wasn't really going well, and then they took it over. And to see how much it's grown in, what, we're talking maybe 4 or 5 years?
Oh, my God. Yeah.
It's incredible.
It exploded.
Well, just in your 2-year journey, that's been...
Like just me alone, like just in what I've seen, I'm just kind of like every time I go there, there's something crazy going on.
Yeah.
He showed me just like what they had coming that way, just like the people that they have. I was like, oh my God, this is exploding so much so quickly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm excited for him.
Well, I'm hoping, you know, he's all the way out in Tyler. So I was like, dude, just if you make a trip up here, you got to stop by, you know, because just I have so many questions about the amount of motivation it must take to make that many moves so quickly. And it doesn't seem to be done poorly. Right. You know, I would be very shocked if this new place was done half-assed.
That's what I was thinking.
Because he could just stay in the same room and it's going well.
Just fine.
But that's the only thing that's limited that room currently was the capacity.
Capacity, and they couldn't sell alcohol.
You're right. It was BYOB.
Yeah, it had to be BYOB.
Right.
And now the new place is like it's full club. Like it's full. I mean, the last one was a club. It was just fine. It was
great. Because I think he took over. It was a restaurant, right?
He took over a restaurant, so it's gonna be.
So it's built out already with what he needs,
food and drinks and everything. It's gonna be like so crazy.
I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah. Because so far, let's see. So far, it would be if we're just talking about comedy in our range. Mm-hmm. Him and DCC are the only ones recently that have put like a ton of money into revamping something. Yeah. DCC did their main stage, and now he's doing a whole new club.
Yeah.
And everybody else they're going fine, but it's like to reinvest like that when it's already so hard to make money.
And there's some, especially when there's so many. I mean, it's different for Tyler because it's just kind of like, it's Tyler and then like another spot. But Dallas reinvesting and trying to like revamp.
Yeah,
you're trying to make money off of everything.
Because dude, that main room wasn't cheap.
No, already.
You know
what
that
I mean?
wasn't cheap
Already.
and it's like they're doing well there, but it's still money. I mean that. Like we've done a couple home renovations and shit can get out of hand quick.
Right.
I can't imagine what a renovation on an old Deep Ellum building.
Oh my God.
The surprises you find.
Like literally, I mean, I work in architecture and I'll look at their building and I'll just like see certain things and I'll be like, it's probably fine.
Stood here this long, right?
It's still here. It's good,
So is that that's what you said your degree's in engineering?
So actually, I don't have the full degree.
Oh, okay.
My degree is just in science.
Okay.
But yeah, I work in architecture now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a good time.
Dude, when you talk about one of my big fears, sorry, I don't know how much time you got.
No, I'm good, man.
We were in that condo I told you we had. We were in there. Part of the reason we sold it is the HOA got real shady, but we didn't find out until after our roof had been ripped off in a storm. And when we were in there, we thought it was a tornado.
Yeah.
We thought we were in a tornado. Windows were blowing out. Roof was coming off. And we're like, oh, my God, we're huddled in a closet.
Right.
And it wasn't a tornado. It was just high winds of some kind. But rained for hours after that. So half of the home was flooded. We could still live in the other half. So we had our master bedroom, master bathroom, and we had our kitchen.
Nice.
So we could still live. And we just had the rest of the house. The roof was tarped over, and we put plastic walls up to kind of control the temperature. But it ended up being that way for like 8 or 9 months. I can't remember now, because for some reason they just weren't putting the roof on.
Right.
And that was the HOA's responsibility. Well, since that whole thing of just being in that, I didn't realize I had like PTSD from this. So now every time storms roll through, it's been years. Like I'm much better now. But initially I was like, I have like 3 weather apps. I'm like out on looking at the weather. I'm watching the apps, and I'm terrified like I'm going to get hit by a tornado and be unprepared.
Right.
And we're in a home that was built in the 1950s.
Oh gosh.
And so, these are like the old, like the real 2x4s.
Yeah,
and
it's
like
still
the
there.
thick ass nails. This thing has survived windstorms, and everybody talks about like they don't build them like they used to. But still, when a storm rolls through, I'm like, yeah, but what if that one nail?
What if
that one nail is finally given way after all these years, and that's just the that's just the catalyst to just ripping everything apart while we're here, and so I end up looking at a lot of like structural stuff now.
Right.
And you're just like, all right, if a storm's coming to town, if it's right here, I'm going to that room.
Yeah. Here's the plan. We go over here to this room. This is the room,
But you do wonder, an area like Deep Ellum, it's like, how did these buildings survive this long? Because you walk through some of them and you're like, that looks risky.
Literally just like legitimate brick and mortar. Some of the stuff is kind of like, wow. Like I've been in some places in Deep Ellum where I'm like, this building is so, you could see it in the background of like, there's like black and white photos of like Dallas where I'm like, this is the same building.
Yeah.
They've torn some down and rebuilt it with like, flashiness and stuff like that. Some of them I'm like, this is the same brick your great grandma saw.
Well, and when you see some of them too, where the ceiling that is, it's a 2-story building.
Yeah.
So your ceiling someone else is walking on, and you're like, that's the same wood from what, 1920?
Yeah.
Huh.
It's been there the whole time.
We're sure it's good, right?
It's
like, good.
Probably fine. Yeah. Like,
it's old growth forest, right?
Like, cool. Yeah. Like.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I guess it should be fine. It's been here. An engineer had to look at that, right?
Right.
Or they don't bribe each other too much, do they?
I had the last big storm, I think, was like it was St. Patrick's Day. It was like this huge storm in Dallas. And I had a friend that was on Greenville Avenue.
Yeah.
And this is St. Patrick's Day, so it's like
yeah, we have the parade down here.
So and people are drinking and stuff. She calls me and she goes, the roof fell in at this place. And I go, oh, you're drunk. Like, no way. And then she sends me a picture. I go, oh.
Oh, my God, it actually fell in.
Like, literally fell in. Nobody got hurt or anything, but, like, it was just a huge hole in the ceiling. And I was just kind of like, oh, yeah, because the buildings there are, like, ancient.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think when I went through that event, it reminded me that just because it's built doesn't mean it's built well.
Right.
It's like every now and then you'll see like 10 people on a patio and it collapses, stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, yeah, it does come down to the person who designed it, the person who put it together. Did they follow the plans?
Nothing, like literally nothing's built to last forever. And some stuff we're just kind of like, all right, I guess this is... Well,
that's the scary stuff about homes right now. As quickly as they're building these homes, you're just like, man, I know you're cutting corners.
Yeah.
And there's like, have you seen all these Instagram pages with home inspectors, like third-party home inspectors,
Yeah.
and they just show you all the flaws, and you're
Yeah,
like, oh my God, I don't think I could ever. I think this is a house I'm going to die in. I can never trust anything.
This is it. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
You know, so I think
Wow.
that's the whole thing with homes, though, right? It's kind of like you're attached to this. This is your thing. You know what I mean? You got to fix it if something goes wrong, you know?
Well, we took our home down to the studs, and anything that didn't involve a permit, we did ourselves,
Yeah.
right? So like I did all the demo, and then we just saw all these handyman fixes that were just horrible.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, man, if we didn't, like, for instance, we couldn't figure out why the foundation. We fixed the foundation. We had to level it off, and it's not a slab; it's a pier and beam home.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So part of the house was sunk, and we couldn't figure out what was going on. You know, and it was driving me crazy. Like, why? Nothing makes sense why it did this.
Right.
And so we fixed that, and then we weren't going to renovate the kitchen at all. And then we decided the house didn't have a ground wire for the electricity. So we decided, okay, we're going to run all new electric. And, you know, if we're doing this, we should do the plumbing.
You did the electric yourself?
No.
Oh,
God,
okay.
no.
I
hired
was like,
somebody
wait.
for that. No. I ripped everything out, and then we hired an electrician to do the correct stuff.
Okay, cool.
No, I don't want to die in a fire.
I know some people that I know. I have a friend right now renovating. He was like, "Yeah, man, we're on the electric right now." I was like, "That's insane."
No,
Okay.
fucking hire somebody, man. That's got to be the worst way to die. Anyway, so when we ripped out the sheetrock in the kitchen, the drain pipe from the dishwasher and the kitchen sink, it had literally like an oval that was like 4 or 5 inches in the bottom of it that was just open. So anytime you ran the sink or the dishwasher, all the water just dumped into the wall. And then when we ripped the cabinets off, we realized they had hired a handyman to come fix this leak. And he must have realized it's a pipe in the wall. They probably don't have the money to renovate their kitchen to do all this. So his fix was he drilled a hole. He put a little hole, like I guess in the sheetrock right there behind the cabinet, and then he drilled holes through the cabinet and through the subfloor so that the water would just drain under the house instead of flooding the kitchen.
Yeah. Nice.
And so that's what ruined the foundation is every time they ran a dishwasher, every time they ran the kitchen sink, it was just soaking in that corner of the house underneath. Right. And I was like, motherfucker. Like, you don't even know how much damage you caused.
Like, literally the whole time.
Yeah. And then the ceiling joists, you know, that hold the walls together, different handymen, for whatever reasons, just cut them.
Yeah.
So I was pulling the sheetrock down from the ceiling, and a ceiling joist would just fall to the floor. And you're like, oh, that's great. It's just holding the structure.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's just like right above your head.
Yeah, we have others, I guess.
Bring the whole house down, and he's like,
yeah,
you got to check.
And you just realize, like, oh God, every home is like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I don't know that I can ever get a home without tearing it apart again.
Right.
I don't think I'd ever just trust it.
No, you have to. I literally, like, you're buying a home that's, how long has it been there, whatever. Even if it's been, 10 years? Let's say 10 years for a home. I'm just kind of like, oh my God, you got to check everything.
Everything.
All over again.
Yeah. And that's assuming it was all just done right to begin with. Yeah.
It never is.
No.
Yeah, like, literally, especially, like you said, there's so many houses that are being built, like, left and right, you know, so.
Yeah, so fast. But I don't know. It's interesting. So how did you get into the architecture side of things?
So I was working at engineering firms, just like drafting. I'm a drafter now, but I was on the engineering side, and it was a lot of work. It was cool, just like a lot of numbers, but you're really doing a lot of repetitive stuff. Mm-hmm. And then like at the engineering firm, the first one that I was at, they had an architecture side, and they were doing a lot of fun stuff over there. They had like pizza parties. I was like, I'm into that. You know, like, but no, I mean, you get to be more creative. So I think over just like 3 years, I just kind of made my way over. I went from like the engineering side. I started doing foundation and wood framing, stuff like that. But all drafting work, and now I'm at an architecture firm.
Man, so that's incredible.
It's a good time. I design apartment complexes now.
Oh, yeah. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, literally everything you're saying, I'm just like, this is life. Yeah. Like,
we could do a whole other podcast about that.
We could have. I'm like, man, we should have started with this. Yeah.
Well, I really hated on, for a while, I really hated on developers who, you know, there's a certain style of apartment complex that's happening right now. And where it's just these giant boxes, and it's like, you know, they drive me nuts. And then you start thinking about the cost of lumber and all these things, and you're like, oh, we're doing it this way because that's literally the most affordable way to do it currently. And it's kind of got to be done that way right now.
Yeah.
And you can't really put a lot of like style and pizzazz on things because that drives up your cost so much.
Like literally the most style you'll get is be like, what's the color of the brick that we're going to use whenever we build it? You know what I mean? Like that's really it, you know.
Have you gotten to design anything that you were just really excited about?
So, I mean, I've only been, so actually.
Or draft, rather, I mean, sorry.
I've gotten a design. I've been doing it for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, I think the week that I started the job was the week that I started comedy.
Oh, wow.
So, I haven't had any. I've had some stuff where I'm like, this is really exciting because like there's an apartment complex that's coming to my hometown in Mesquite, and I think that's really cool. Like I won't see it for 6 years or something like that. But I mean, I've gotten to draw it out and all types of stuff, and I'm just really excited because I'm like I'm from here, and now I'm gonna get to drive by and be like, look at that. Like I haven't had anything yet that I've designed that's like all the way done yet. Yeah. But like next year, I'll have some stuff where I can be like,
real
oh,
exciting.
yeah, that'd be really cool. I go on like a date with someone and be like, you see that building?
Yeah,
that's me. You know, like
my I talked to my wife about that. Her cousin, I can't remember exactly what he's doing, but he's working in architecture as well, and they you know, that's the exciting thing. It's like you're contributing to society in a way that you can visually see. Yeah, and a lot of people don't get that satisfaction with their work. You know, they don't get to go like, there is the result of what we did. Exactly. You know, and that's got to be so cool. You know. He speaking of Mesquite, he just started doing something. I think he's going to work on one of their schools doing like a redesign or something.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah. My wife's from Mesquite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm from there. That's cool. Yeah. What's what high school she went to?
She went to North.
North? Oh, I went to Horn. I mean, we're different times.
Enemies.
But exactly. Exactly. So I was kind of like, now I don't
enemies.
know about this.
No, Mesquite's like, they had that heyday with Town East Mall. Yeah. And I don't know what's going on with Mesquite, but I've always felt like that place should be thriving. It's in an incredible location. You know what I mean? Yeah. That should be a hub of so many cool things.
There's so many things.
I don't know if it's the city planners or what's going on, but it's like, I don't know. It's a massive city that I feel like it's overlooked in a lot of ways, and it has a lot to offer. It's
so much space, and like, I mean, housing, everything.
And it's an old community. Like, there are people who've had roots there for decades and a couple generations now.
Been for a while, you know what I mean? It's huge. It's, once again, one of those places where it's not far from the city.
Yeah, I mean, if you worked in Dallas, Mesquite is a great place to live.
Awesome. It's fine. But
I'm hoping, like, housing's gone so insane. I'm hoping that Mesquite has a little bit of a come up where it does what it's supposed to do. Yeah. They need to figure out what to do with Town East Mall. They need to figure out how to revive that somehow.
When I was in high school, it was the spot.
It was the fucking shit.
It was the spot.
And now, every now and then, you're like, who got shot there?
Yeah, like literally every other week now. You're just kind of like, another dude brought a gun. They have like metal detectors. I'm like, these don't work. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so.
Yeah. I don't know what you do with it, though. It's just this massive building, and like, I don't think people really go to malls that much anymore.
Malls are kind of done. Like, I mean, during the Christmas season, sure, but when Black Friday was popping, oh my God. Like,
well, I mean, we would just go to Town East on a weekend.
Yeah.
Just like, let's just go to the mall.
No, hang out. You know what I mean? Like, it was a good time. And I couldn't even tell you the last time I went to Town East now. Like,
well, why would you? What's
exactly,
there?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like, JCPenney. I don't. Is that still a thing?
I don't know.
I don't even think that's a thing anymore.
I don't know what is in Town East Mall.
No, exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, dude, thanks so much for taking the time. I'll get you out of here. It's great chatting with you, man. And I'm super excited to see where you go on your comedy journey. Thanks, like I said, I didn't know how long it had been, but the 2 years makes sense. But you have this strange confidence up there, and knowing how you started your comedy journey and that competition is wild. So maybe that contributes to some of it. And then I'm happy to say I now know a club. National club playing ultimate frisbee player, man.
We do it our thing, man.
Dude, thank you so much. Anything you want to plug before you get out of here?
Yeah, man. I'll just plug my socials. You can follow me online, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at KennyLee270 if TikTok's still a thing here in the next, I don't know, like couple weeks. Yeah. Follow me at those things. I'm always doing shows and stuff. Catch me at a show around town. But that's it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Dude, absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
The I'm a Fan of podcast, music, comedy, and more.